2
Well,
seconds.
I live in Minnesota, so he's currently my governor.
Well, my governor spoke tonight at the whatever the fuck it's called. The
That's what
little
I
thing.
heard.
Democratic
Andy
National
Beshear.
DNC.
Convention.
Yes,
Oh,
that's
nice.
it.
That thing,
Andy,
yeah.
and you guys, hold on. And my girl, they said Breonna Taylor's name. I was like, yes. I was like, just so y'all know, we
Yes.
not gonna let y'all fucking forget about that shit. We gonna keep continuing because we're in the middle of fucking
We
federal
should.
case. I'm with her mom all the time, like, and it's fucking ridiculous what their family's having to go through. But it was really awesome that they said Breonna Taylor's name in the rally tonight. And then Andy Beshear spoke, and he was just so handsome with his little humble self. I just love that motherfucker. Listen, I'm gonna tell you, Andy Beshear, when I first met him, I had just got out of everything. And actually it was the day I didn't know I was a human trafficking survivor. It's called pimping and hoeing. Like I just didn't know I was a trafficking survivor. You know, like the abuse and shit was normal to me, I guess you could say in some sense. Anyway, one day I'm at a conference and like all these people for a while never told me their meaning was they wanted me to come to their own conclusions. They didn't want to tell me what I was, right? So anyway, I'm in a conference one day and this dude gets up on stage and he starts talking and he's, acting like he knows what he's talking about. I don't know nothing about politics. I don't know who this fucker is. I don't know shit. I just know they put this list up and I'm like, wait a minute. So am I a trafficking survivor? Because like I hit every single one of them. And so anyway, long story short, yeah, I had a whole moment because I was like, what the fuck?
That's a tough way to find out.
Oh wait,
Yeah,
wait,
front of
wait. I
350
think
people.
I fit
Yeah, it's
in
like,
this category.
Yeah, but,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, like I was like, hold on, wait a minute. What?
You want me to present right now?
Listen. So anyway, so I had a moment, whatever. A lot of people. So he gets done speaking, and I go over because then finally I'm like, okay, so I'm not even for sure really what all that means yet. You know what I mean? Because like I'm still learning what all these technical shit is. Because I know the street verbiage, but I at that point in my life didn't know anything else. So somebody was like, that's the AG. And I was like, he's the AG? And I was like, what the fuck's an AG? So they told me what the AG was. So then I go over to him and I was like, you know what? I want to know why your fucking cops keep coming over 7th Street and keep harassing all the strippers. I was like, and them motherfuckers ain't in there but trying to fuck somebody. I was like, so what the fuck are you going to do about them? Or how about the judges that come looking for little kids? And, I just like went on all kinds of shit. Total trauma, ADD, fucking spaz moment, right? So he was like, who are you? I was like, I'm Summer fucking Dickerson. I was like, and if you don't help me, I'm going to be at your fucking dinner table with your family until you fucking do something because I'm tired of motherfuckers gaslighting me, especially bitches that wear suits. So,
there you go.
Yeah, so he like kind of takes it all in. Then he thinks I'm from Indiana. He said, I'm going to get your governor from Indiana to make sure he has a meeting with you. I'm going to set it up. I said, why the fuck am I meeting with a governor in Indiana? I live here in Kentucky, damn it. So then he was like, all right, so he gets me to Frankfurt. And I'll be honest with you. Ever since then, that man showed me the power an attorney general seat has. And when he was the AG, he took force in taking powerful people down that were trafficking or involved in trafficking. And I was right there. I was a part of stings. I was a part of training courses. I was a part of everything. He came up with the first council for victims of victims of violent crimes council, and I sat on the second board of that, and that was it was the first one ever in any of the capital houses or whatever in any state, and since then they have now made other ones, but I was on the second one. I don't know, he's really a good man, and he stopped the most crazy and fucking sane devil worshiping against trans children act that this fucking state was trying to put in to this fucking honey. He stopped that shit. He said, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. So he's cool. And tonight he actually spoke on women's, like, the women should have the right to be able to have, the right to choose whatever over their body. And he's a man of faith, but
we were right here. We missed it. Tell us, you're telling us how I'm excited.
Quick shout out to my friend Joe, the Kentucky atheist, who just jumped into the side chat and
hey Kentucky, what's that? I'm from Kentucky too. I'm from Louisville,
Is,
but I be all over
Yeah, there
Kentucky.
we go.
is
There
he
we
even
go.
in the side chat?
Now
It
we're
won't let me
talking.
tag him.
Honey, I be in the hollers. I be everywhere in Kentucky. Everywhere. And so on Wednesday nights, I know y'all have a lot going on Wednesday nights, but on Wednesday nights when I can, because sometimes I'm working, but I actually go on the streets of Louisville, Kentucky, and we do outreach. Now, I don't show the people that I work or help because I don't believe you should do that. I think that's weird. But you do hear the conversations, which are very powerful and very amazing. And so we start usually around 5:30, and I go out for about 4 hours or whatever. And it's just something I do because I get tired of people making assumptions because they don't know or they've never seen it or they've never experienced it or whatever. You know what I mean? So I just like, like hear from people like this is real life. You know what I mean? So just FYI,
That's
we do
cool.
that.
Hey,
But yeah,
Summer, I got
Andy
a
Bashir is
quick
the shit.
question for you.
Yes.
The one that got shot up there, the outreach worker, how are they doing?
What happened now?
About a couple months ago, there was somebody doing homeless outreach and they were shot.
Yeah,
I was just wondering how they're doing.
they're good.
Okay.
Yeah, Louisville's rough, man. Like it's and like where we serve at is probably the roughest areas, but like and we do it at night as well. On top of that, but I don't know, man. I just been doing this shit so long, and things can happen. I mean, shit, people be tweaking, and people just be having their moments, and mental illness is real, and people are in really bad situations. But I don't let that keep me away. Like
Fuck yeah.
I don't know. I feel like fuck all that. I'm still going. Like that's my people. I love them. So we do that on Wednesday nights. But anyway, Andy Bashir, I kind of got that was an ADD moment. Squirrel. I'm gonna bring it back in. My bad, y'all.
I'm so glad you mentioned it.
Sorry. But Andy Bashir did a great job.
Gotta know. Do you think that? Do you think the VP pick was okay? I know Andy Bashir was certainly up there.
Oh my God.
You can do better than they're doing.
Well, listen, okay. So I didn't know who he was. And there are some things that I've been like, and I wanted Andy so bad because like I know Andy and I know how hard he works for all people, but especially like kids and different things like that. But honestly, I'm glad that he didn't get picked because now he could possibly take Mitch McConnell's spot for a little bit and then work because he's still. And because it's all about, chestnut checkers, baby. Go and take Mitch McConnell's spot for a little bit and then go up and hit president.
Mm-hmm.
I think that.
Well,
I'm sorry, Mitch McConnell got to go.
He's leaving.
My take on that was it was almost the perfect pick, not only because that Walz is a really spectacular on his feet politician, but that let's think about the other people under consideration. It's like Shapiro in Pennsylvania. He's got a term to fill. He's gonna be there. He's gonna be in a position to to garner votes, regardless. Grantham in Michigan is going to be there and going to be in a position to garner votes. Bashir is going to be in Pennsylvania, in Kentucky, and if he had said, yeah, okay, I'm done with that, then what's happening in Kentucky? I worry about the what happens on the ground for people. Like if Andy Bashir wasn't the governor of Kentucky and was the vice president, who would you have? There'd be a special election, and then you'd probably.
Well, we would have the lieutenant governor, which she's
for a bit.
For a bit,
and she's.
And I think this is just my opinion, and I would hope that she would run again, and she would run for governor because I think she would get it. And she's a really amazing chick.
Well, I actually.
You know what I hope? You know what I hope is that we somehow or another this and this is going back to the Howard Dean 50 state strategy. We need to repudiate fascism all across this country. I don't care where it is, whether it's Texas or Kentucky or Tennessee or anywhere, or Alabama or Georgia or Mississippi, or we need to repudiate fascism. We need to repudiate this notion of it's okay to run politics against everything and not with everything. And we need to be doing that. And I think that in not jeopardizing that, I think Kamala has been brilliant in her VP pick, and is being brilliant in her campaign strategy to emphasize we are indeed one people, and we need to be joyful about that fact.
Listen, I'm going to tell you what.
The contrast between the Democratic.
I was so nervous. I'm not going to lie.
Unbelievable.
I was so nervous, but then once I was like, and I started listening. I mean, I've watched every single speech they've done. I've watched twice sometimes. You know what I mean? I'm watching everything, and it's
tears running down my face.
It's tonight. I was watching, and I was just. Yeah, it was good. It was good, man.
What Walsh is doing right out of the gate is he's forcing people to talk about issues that affect working class people.
Yep.
Which the Republicans never had any policies for.
Right.
So they don't know how to respond to him at all. You know, and the other thing that he has done with Minnesota is he has proven the Republicans wrong on every major point they have. Because he's proven that by having good social programs to help low and middle income people, you have a robust economy.
Right.
All the things that the Republicans say are going to bankrupt the country, Walsh has been doing in this state.
So let me ask you this. Who is excited? I know I am.
I am now. I mean, okay, when Biden stepped down, I was feeling a little better. When she picked Waltz, I'm like, yeah, we're going to run with this.
Oh, these debates. I'm excited for both because listen, JD is a fucking clown. Like he's a whole idiot.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
And his supporters are running around with fucking containers of Miracle Whip, claiming that it's his jizz. It's like, what the fuck? That's the funniest fucking thing ever. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yet.
Yeah.
What the actual shit?
Even the Republicans and even some people that, you know, are working for Trump have been leaking out things that, you know, like, within 48 hours, he regretted JD.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, but that was Don Jr.'s pick. You know, it's like
it was. Has anybody ever seen The Handmaid's Tale? That's up here. The show Handmaid's Tale.
I haven't myself, but Sloth Girl used to watch it, so I saw bits of it here and there.
He looked like, so you might know what character I'm talking about. The main dude that was like over everything, the skinny dark hair guy. He reminds me of him. That's who he right. That show, I'm telling you all right now, like even if you just watch the last 2 seasons so you can get caught up. The what do you call that parademity? I don't know what the fucking word is, but the shit is the contrast of
the paradox.
Yeah, there you go. I was trying to use a big word.
Do you think that these sons of his, these assholes, do you think that they're vying for political positions because they seem to be wanting a lot of power?
So I think they are going to try. I think they're going to try. I think that not all of them are going to succeed. There for a while, I thought that they were grooming Ivanka to lead in a position. I don't know though. I don't know.
I don't think the Republicans
I think his
will
youngest son is
ever
going to
let
be very
a
for it.
woman have position of
Barron.
real power. You know, they
I
want a
agree.
woman who will vote with them, but they
Well,
don't
if
want her
they,
to be able to be above them.
I agree with you, but I think with the times changing, if they do ever try to put a female in position, it will surely be one that. Well, I think their
Yeah.
whole plan is Project 2025 to go through. Let's just make sure we make something clear. And if that's why you can't vote for them,
Well, I
you know,
thought all
I
along
mean, you
through
can.
Trump's
You can vote
present.
for whoever you want. I vote. I fight for everyone's right to vote for whoever you want. I'm just gonna say that, but don't play stupid.
Vote
Yeah,
for
but I
people who
I
Right.
thought
give
all
you
through
the
Trump's
opportunity to
and
vote
it's not
again.
I
and
thought
it's
all
not
through Trump's-
and it's not as a woman of a certain age, the the program published by the Heritage Foundation, Project 2025, is the same program that's been published by the likes of those folk since Franklin Delano
Yeah, but
Roosevelt
the
was
difference is we're
president.
seeing things actually come in play, though. That's the difference. That's what I told, because somebody said that to me the other day. They said, Summer, this is shit like this has been put out forever. I said, okay, but the difference is things are not been put in play. They literally criminalized homelessness. They literally took women's rights away. They literally,
Summer.
there's an attack on trans. They're, you know what I mean? Like,
Summer.
they're going to get
Yeah.
police immunity. They're doing this shit.
Summer,
Right,
Yeah.
because it's not
summer
just
in
theoretical.
summer in the 1950s, no less a stalwart figure of the Republican Party and than William F. Buckley, one of the most racist pieces of shit ever to cross across the American political landscape, denounced the John Birch Society. And the John Birch Society is the Republican Party of today.
Well, let me
Right.
say
And he
this.
did that in the 50s.
I know.
There's no question.
These
These are the people who, you know, the nice polite face of it was Prescott Bush back in
Just one second, I have to
Roosevelt's day.
recognize the super chat. Gina, thank you so much, beautiful. You're more than welcome to join anytime. I'm just now seeing that, so I want to make sure I say thank you. My bad, y'all. I think she did that earlier. Sorry. I hit the wrong button.
No worries.
But
But these bastards have been at it since the 1930s.
Yeah.
Since the 40s. They don't want American people. They don't want anybody but themselves to have access to power, to the levers of power.
Yeah.
And this is the first time since I was very young that I've heard the kind of pushback
yeah.
Yeah. Well,
that Roosevelt gave in his second campaign, saying these people hate me and I welcome their hatred. I mean, every now and again you just have to fucking step on it and say, fuck this.
Yeah.
Fuck this
Well, they
noise.
haven't changed.
Fuck
They haven't
this
changed.
noise.
But we're not going back, because I think that women and
Yep.
people have fought for rights for a very long time, and
well, I
sorry,
think the
angry as
Republicans
hell to
way
go through that and
underestimated.
not have it.
I think the Republicans way underestimated what was going to happen when they flipped Roe versus Wade. You know, they didn't think it was going to be as big a deal as it is to everyone.
No, they did not.
Right. And you can think what you want, but there is more women and people that support women and,
Yeah.
are tied
Well,
to
you-
the
you
women's
can
rights.
look-
Because women's rights not just for women. This is a whole spectrum of things, right? In my
Yeah.
opinion, because they're gonna start with this and then a bunch of other shit. But
Well,
like,
and you can look how it's flipping already. You know, how many Republicans that were running for state offices who were running in deep red districts have gotten booted out of office in the last 2 years.
Well, here in Kentucky, there was, you know, I mean, yes, we're still fighting for some shit, clearly, but like, there was a lot of Republicans that jumped over, and because women on some of this, some Republican women are going to stay, and they're going to vote against women's rights all day, every day. But there are a group of women and men of Republicans that cross that line, and that's one thing in the last
Yep.
voting cycle that it showed that there were Republicans that crossed that line on that particular topic, and so. Like, people don't understand. Like, I mean, and yes, L, I just want to say real quick. He said, "Did you see the uncover video of the English journalist with one of the leaders of the Project 25? That was some scary shit." Yes, I did see that interview actually, and I mean, and even the training videos that have came out. Like, this shit's, people need to understand that this shit is very real, and you need to get yourself educated. But people also need to understand the power of fucking women. And when you sit here. We fought way too fucking hard to get where we're at now. I mean, just the other day,
Yeah.
we celebrated 50 years of being able to have a fucking credit card, right?
Okay.
So when it comes to women's rights and even things, you know, like civil rights and stuff like that, I mean, Jim Crow wasn't that long ago. You know what I mean? We got trans rights, we got LGBT. There's enough fucking
Jim
people.
Crow only
that are
ended in
not dealing with this
1965.
shit.
I was fucking 13 years old.
Yeah.
That's when Jim Crow got done. I
Exactly. Well, I mean,
I visited my sister in Atlanta, Georgia in 1961, and there were fucking, you know, separated drinking fountains.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay,
I got a question.
people don't understand.
Last voting cycle, literally interracial marriage was on the voting cycle, whether it should be state legal or not. Like, are you fucking kidding me right now? So
Wait,
there's
what?
enough people.
That's
Yes,
gross.
last voting cycle, there were two things a lot of people missed. And maybe in some places I guess it didn't show up or people didn't see, I don't know, but it was even on all the news stuff that was showing what was passing and what wasn't. Was interracial marriage was on there, whether it should stay legal or become illegal. Me and my husband, my whole family is interracial marriage. Like, what are you talking about? You're out your fucking mind if you think you're moving anything in this household. And hanging people, and if you could hang people, and I think it was Mississippi, and that actually passed.
The fucking craziest bullshit ever is fucking Clarence Thomas basically
Okay, I got a
saying,
question.
"Hey, let's reconsider Loving versus Virginia." Jesus Christ, dude.
well,
Right.
I think
Exactly.
Clarence Thomas wants out of his marriage, but a divorce would kill his political career, so that's why he's doing it.
I'm sure
Okay.
most of them
I got a question.
KS,
Don't-
I know. That's just a bad conspiracy theory I started.
No, you're good. No, you're good. KS, hold on one second. KS, you had a question, babe?
Yeah. Okay, with Roe versus Wade being overturned, right? What's not going to stop them going after like the Civil Rights Act of 68, ADA, Title IX, too, all of that for
Nothing.
civil rights?
Nothing at all.
No, they're
That's
gonna
the
try to
point.
roll all that back.
Nothing. That's the
And that's
point.
that's what we're trying to get people to
Read
understand.
Alito's decision.
They're
Read
already
Alito's opinion. It's all on the table.
If you think that it's not going to be you next, just because you're not
Yeah,
the
well,
one being oppressed now,
They're
you know,
starting
people are
with trans
misinformed.
people because we're such a tiny, tiny minority. And once they get us, then they'll move up the ladder to the gays, and they're just going to keep going up to the next minority group on the ladder, and one by one, just take them all out.
Well, on my shorts, if you go look on my or maybe on my videos anyway, I do a speech, and it was right after everything had got turned over, right? And they were just talking specifically about like maybe birth control, morning after pill, and obviously abortion. And in my speech, I say, you know, to all you women out there that are trying to, you know, can't have babies and you need that extra help, you all think they're, you know, you're on board with them taking our rights away from abortion, but they're coming for that shit too. Was it IVF, IBM, or whatever the hell it's called?
yeah,
You know what I mean?
a couple of
It's
states.
Because I know they're starting with like birth control and
Right, but see that
and then the
now
IVF
we're-
and all that.
right, but my point is, fast forward, that was right after the decision, right? And all they were talking about was birth control, abortion, and morning after pill. Here we are in 2024, and now that also is on the fucking thing. You know what I mean? They're
Yeah.
tonight at the Democrats, whatever. There were women that shared their stories. One about losing their babies and having miscarriages, and the hospitals not wanting to help them, refusing them treatment and stuff. You
Yep.
know what I mean? Like there's women that have shared stories about the ectopic pregnancies, and just people sending them home, and
There
women
was a
almost
woman
bleeding to death
in
and stuff.
Texas who died because she was trying to get the court to give her permission to have an abortion, and
There was a
she
woman.
died before the
Yeah.
hearing came up.
Yep. Yeah, there were women. There's been women that have been arrested. I think the woman down south, her case finally got thrown out or whatever, but she was
I
arrested
mean,
for the
and
miscarriage
the
stuff.
thing,
Yeah.
the thing is that a number of us have been talking about this since at least I started to get active. I came out of my second closet in 2018
Mhm.
when Trump's. I had like my own little story is I transitioned in 1998 and
Mhm.
went through all of that stuff. And I didn't talk about my transness uh, in social media until 2018. And when the impetus for me saying, okay, look, you got to do something here, was that Donald Trump's Department of Health and Human Services was ready to implement into the Federal Register a ruling that said sex is immutable and determined at birth, which would have invalidated my birth certificate, my driver's license, my this, my that, my the other thing. And it's like, I again, earlier in the conversation, I talked about how it really didn't matter as far as trans shit was concerned, aside from my own personal relationships, right? With
Right.
friends, family, professional aspects.
Yeah,
I
that's
was
all the
fine.
people who should need to know.
I could be fine. I could be stealth, as we call it in the trans community, which is, in other words, I could disappear like y'all want us to. I could just meld into the. I could do this. I could just simply do this, right?
Well, I'd rather you
You
not,
know,
but yeah.
but that's not. But y'all, what these folks made me do, and in a way, I'm rather grateful that they did, was made me actually have to ask my friends, many of them who were right wing, many of them who were Republican, many of them who had influence in the Republican Party, to say, look, if you take away my identity, who's playing identity politics here?
Right.
You know me. You have known me for years. Why would you want to go there?
Right.
For me and other people like me. And for the most part, folks agreed. But it was a difficult decision to do because it's like, okay, I've played by the rules. I've learned how to dance. I know how this works. But you're going to fuck over everybody who's coming behind me. Everybody who's going to, you're just basically going to lock people like me into a position where there is no solution
Right.
for us, and you don't care.
I just want to say to you I appreciate you. I appreciate you for the fight that you have to fight, and you speaking up and just just sharing, because like your realness and your just who you are. It makes it. I think it's awesome. So I just want to say thank you, because
Well, thank you, Summer. And I'm glad I had the opportunity. I'm glad I accidentally ran
hey, I'm
into.
anytime, sweetie, anytime, because it's been great. Like I really think it's you know people can assume anything, right? Between your story, my story, anybody's story on this panel, right? Just whatever. And there's a lot of people that have these conversations, and the one thing they always miss is they always miss the people that they're talking about. They usually rarely ever talk to or even listen to,
That's right. There you
right?
go. That's the whole thing. That's it.
So
Nailed it.
That's it.
so for me, one thing, and you can go back in any of my videos, people will tell you, I didn't have a voice for so long. It's very important for me to make sure people always have voices. And so I think more people need to listen, and they may, listen to watch this live later. They may watch, your lives later, whatever, you know what I mean? Wherever you talk and somebody might hear you. And at first it may not, get it, but then later on, sometimes those seeds are planted, and they may be able to understand things from a different perspective, because when you've got the news and stupid people just shoving shit and scenarios down that they just don't even understand themselves, then you get to hear from someone. It's just different, so I mean, but I know it's not
Yeah.
easy. I know being public, I know speaking, and obviously two different lanes, but still the same. I can promise on some aspects as far as attacks and abuse
No,
and bullshit.
it's the same shit.
Um,
When you're
yeah.
when you're when you're
So
yeah when you're like, okay, fair enough, but no, I ain't gonna take this bullshit any longer. And you need to hear a different
yeah,
perspective. It's like, have you ever met a trans person? Often
yeah,
the answer is no. Have you
right,
ever really talked to a black person? Often the answer is no. Have you ever talked to a native person? Often the answer is no. Uh, and it is a fact that that the the that we have not reached the tipping point
right,
where where our voices are heard more generally in electoral politics, in particularly locally, particularly among our where we live. Uh, our existence is tolerated but not celebrated,
right.
and and the fact that that landscape is shifting, where
Yep.
we're not just tolerated, we are in fact celebrated. There are a number of people who don't like that,
Right.
and those are the people. That's the 30 to 40% of the people that we're up against right now. But we all need to keep in our minds it's 30 to 40% of the
Yeah.
people. It sucks that they are there. Are the things that we do day to day is to change individual minds, but the
Yep.
things that we need to do nationally on a statewide basis in our own towns is to make it clear to those people that they're full of shit and they need to just sort of step off. Eventually they'll get it. It may be changing changing human beings' thought is a very, very long uh, uh, process. A lot of people still believe that, somebody died and was. I hate to offend
Yeah.
any Christians here, but
No, you good.
a lot of people believe a whole bunch of bullshit, and we've been talking about it for 2,000 fucking years plus.
Well, that society doesn't change by years or decades; it changes by generations. A lot
It
of times,
changes by
the last
it changes
generation to
by
die out
generation. It
forward
changes
progress.
by stuff.
So
And we're
Matt
not
Meg
going back.
is on panel, and he could more than welcome say this, but I'll read it. He says, "Is it safe to assume the quality of the vote has failed, thus people being less reluctant to
Reluctant.
vote, out of feeling like their vote doesn't count, texting, coughing, and smoking weed?"
Yeah, well, I think that's the problem. That anytime we get a voter turnout that approaches 50%, they're talking about record turnouts because
Yeah.
half the people bother to show up.
Well, I'll tell you right now, one thing I will say. I'm not gonna bullshit. I just, since probably Obama is when I kind of got involved, started getting involved in the political aspect of things. Before I was in the adult industry, I just lived a completely different lifestyle. So I was not, I would do. That's what I was. Me and my husband were talking. I said, the most I used to know about politics was before I'd go to work, I'd do a quick update on all the different news stations and ESPN, so I need the updates on sports, and then I'd go to the strip club. I was like, that was about it. But now, obviously, I'm way more involved in stuff. And one thing I will say, this election cycle is the first time now. I did see it with Obama as well, but not even as much as I'm seeing it here now, because it's Kamala and to that the VP. He has his own little, like, people are really happy about him too. So them together just makes them a powerhouse. And I mean, I get it. Trump's like, oh, these are AI people. No, those are really fucking people out there. Like, there's people there, and it's not what I do like it is they'll be petty. Like, they'll address some of his bullshit and just kind of be silly petty, you know what I mean? But then they move on. Like, this motherfucker is losing his shit. Dude,
Well,
he is such a narcissistic. One day she's as pretty as his wife. The next day she smells. He's racist. He's this. And he is going to be his own demise, because I'll be honest with you, I truly believe there's enough people that support his bullshit that he was going to win, even with her, even with them switching. But then when I seen how nervous he got, oh, honey, his little TT's hurt.
yeah,
He don't
he
know
has
what to do with himself.
he has never known what to do with an intelligent
No,
woman.
he is not. But it's just funny because he's always he's always been able to kind of create this atmosphere, and he's been able to control the narrative no matter what, in my opinion. Now, Biden stepped down, and now all of a sudden, because he made such an emphasis on fucking Biden being like slow and not remembering shit and calling people the different names and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
This motherfucker has thanked Putin. He has sound like Donald Duck. He sounds like his dentures is loose. Like, he doesn't make sense. He talks in fucking circles. He's just a clown. He's just it's not working this time. It's just not. And the shit they say about her is the same shit that they said when she became an AG. It's the same shit when she went into the senator or whatever shit, the VP, with her locking people away, the truancy. I'm not going to say those were great things, but a lot of people change their outlooks and sometimes learn from shit. You know what I mean?
hmm
So, and really, honestly, she's using us as a pawn, so I'll use her as a pawn too. Like, I don't give a fuck, bitch. I just need you to get in there and make sure you get some of this shit straightened out, because he can't get in. That's just how I feel.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah, the
muted,
problem
baby.
is I don't think she
Doesn't need-
needs to get in either. With her sitting there
No,
saying
but
the United States needs to become like Australia.
well, I mean, I don't know. I'd have to look into what that particular statement.
Because
But
like Australia, they took the gun rights from everybody.
they're okay, but we're not Australia. So this is okay. This is where I'm gonna time out for just a second and jump on that soapbox for just a second. One thing people have to understand: we are not Australia, first of all. Second of all, they're not gonna take our guns. That's not gonna happen. I do think there's nothing wrong with putting some gun laws and the stuff
Um,
that's laying on table, maybe push some of that stuff through. I don't have an issue with that.
Waltz
But ain't
has
nobody
passed
taking nobody.
some sensible gun control as well, as far
Right.
as
Ain't nobody
better
taking.
background checks. But he's also said he is himself a sports hunter. So we're not
Right.
talking about your hunting rifles.
Well, but see, okay. Do I believe that there can be extreme on both sides? I do. And I think there is extreme people on both sides. The extreme people on both sides are going to make people believe that they're going to come take everybody's guns. They're not going to come take everybody's guns. That's not going to happen. It's an emotional stance and an emotional plug that they play on every time. Every time. You know what I mean? So like, it's just not going to happen. I am a
Well-
proud gun owner. I am strapped everywhere I go. Even if you don't see it, I promise you I got heat on me. You know what I mean? Like I believe everyone should carry a gun if you're comfortable with it, and not just carry a gun, but get trained in carrying a gun. That's just
And
my
it
opinion.
is-
But
it
I
is
understand
still
that guns
legal
is
in
not for
Minnesota.
everybody.
It
Huh?
is still legal in Minnesota to carry a gun in public. He just wanted to make
Yeah.
sure they were checking more carefully about the history of the people who were buying guns.
Well, for me, I don't, listen, I mean, I've carried guns legally and illegally, and I never gave two fucks either way. I mean, I had
Yeah.
my gun on me, and that's just what it's going to be. So now it's funny now that I do carry legal. I remember the first time I was pulled over, share a funny story with y'all. And I had my gun on me, and I was speeded or whatever. And I was nervous as fuck because, like, where I'm from, dude, you have a gun in the car, like, you can get shot. Even though we call it gun technique, like everybody's got a fucking gun, and your gun's got guns, like everybody's got guns. But the first time I got pulled over, I was like, I have a gun in the car, and I knew I was legit. I knew I was all the way. He was like, "You're fine." He's like, "Don't worry about it." Like, I'm not worried about you. I'm like, okay, cool. But I was so fucking nervous because I was like, man, as many times as I've driven with an illegal gun, now that I'm driving, I get pulled over. Thank God it's legal. But I think there should be some sensible gun stuff. I don't have a problem with that, and I think reasonable gun owners don't have an issue with that either.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, I don't have an issue with like the gun control laws, but we need to quit making all these new ones and start being consistent with the laws that are already on the book.
well, and that's the biggest thing, right? And that's one thing that if people would get out of their emotional stance, in my opinion, and I get it, I get an emotional stance on shit that I believe in, but get off of this. They're gonna take our guns, and get on this. Enforce the stuff that's already on the books, because there's stuff out there that's sensible, that's already in in certain places that they could be enforcing, and they're not.
Yeah,
And
but
they-
certain
I mean, you
places-
got 922G.
By state.
They grab these extreme, this is what we're gonna do, and then throw them out there, like, and
Yeah,
everybody's like,
but-
they don't want to listen to anything else or educate themselves because God forbid anybody.
The problem
does
is
their own
the certain areas that you can always buy guns in certain areas and then drive into places where they're more restricted.
Mhm.
We need something passed on a federal level.
Yeah, I think that's the only way it would get done.
Yeah,
There
otherwise,
is federal laws. You got the
otherwise you're gonna just
922.
drive over the state
Okay, do you
line
all
and you get
see-
whatever you want.
Do you all see how big, like, women and allies of women's rights are coming, like, going crazy, right?
Yep.
Now imagine all of those people and all of their ops all coming together for one thing. Again, do you really think? Now, people talk about Civil War and all this crazy shit, which they're not going to do. I mean, we've seen how J6 worked out, right?
Yeah.
They ain't ready for Civil War.
Well,
But now you
Yeah,
take guns away, that might get people to act stupid. So I just don't think
That's going to get people in the streets.
Yeah,
Well-
I don't think that's gonna happen.
No.
Well, right away, it's like if they pass something to take everybody's guns away, what are they going to do? Send the police around to collect them?
you know that
Most of the officers will just get shot, and that'll be it.
well,
they
that
tried to
I-
clamp down on some of the guns that were in Canada because I had Canadian family, and people's question was, do we have to go turn our guns in? Who's going to monitor that kind of thing? Because we're talking about Alberta.
Right? They
They
still
aren't
have
gonna
guns
give
in
up their
Alberta.
guns.
Just saying. I mean, they ain't supposed to, but yeah, there's guns in Canada. There's guns in all kinds
I
of
mean,
places.
like in the U.S.,
I don't
they
agree because
can
I believe
send the
that
military to do it.
my thing
Well-
is you're making laws to protect criminals, right? If you want to go that far, because somebody that don't give a fuck about whether the gun's legal or not. Trust, I mean, I don't give a shit what laws you make. I don't care what band. If I want my pistol, I know where to get it at, and I'm gonna do whatever I want with it.
I know
because I'm
Chicago's a good example with it. Illinois, they have the
Well,
FOID card and all that in
New
criminal.
York.
They don't
right. That's
care.
why I'm saying you're. Which, hey, listen, I was a criminal. Okay, so like it's. If you want something, you're gonna
So-
get it. Ain't a law gonna stop you. Like I think we all know that. I mean, it doesn't stop these cricket ass politicians. These motherfuckers fuck us over every single chance they fucking get.
Yeah, and then what doesn't get me is why aren't most of the politicians in D.C. that are out hunting and everything that are convicted felons in possession of firearms? Why aren't they getting picked up on 922G charges?
You mean like Donald
Maybe.
Trump?
Yeah,
Because we
Donald
don't.
Trump is a
So-
convicted felon. They know that he has a gun at Mar-a-Lago. They haven't done anything about it.
Mhm.
I don't want to interrupt, but
So what I don't really understand is why.
Hold on one sec. Hold on one sec. Hold on, y'all.
Just
one
second.
second. I need to step down because I have meetings in the morning and I have my granddaughter and it's already 3:00. I'm having so much fun. I didn't even pay attention to time.
I know,
There you
right?
go.
But I want to
You're fine.
appreciate every one of you. I've subbed to every one of you, and I look so forward to
you.
having more conversations with all of you. It's been a great night.
Oh, you're a sweetheart.
And Christine, I want to say to you, thank you for hosting. Thank you for opening the panel up and getting everybody.
Yeah.
You know, we got new people. We got everybody in the chat. So you've been doing a great job. I just want to keep encouraging you on that. So
Thank you. Hey,
Go get
you'd
some
be
rest.
proud of me. We had a gentleman come in here tonight that kind of started to be really, really nasty, and I gave him a chance. He didn't, and I had to remove him. I was so proud of myself.
Good job.
I saw
Hey,
that. He did real
yeah,
good.
you.
Listen, like I tell everybody, this is our show. So at the end of the day, if there's anything that ever while you're running the show and you're just not with it, that is what
Yeah.
it is. Gotta go.
He was threatening. I mean, even Mafty threatened to go after some type of sore or something or not. I mean, it was crazy.
Is it
Yeah.
anybody that we knew?
No, it was somebody new, and I put the thing up. He showed himself, started talking, and started out talking fine. But then all of a sudden, his satanic and Satanism and threatening everybody. It's like, yeah, we're done. Bye, see you.
Well, you're the boss.
And well, and I left a message in the back. Somebody tried coming up as Mama Bear, and it was not her.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good call on
Had her,
that.
had her avatar and everything. Well, I
Yeah,
asked.
unfortunately, somebody
I
did
asked-
that to me once. That they took my avatar and my name, and they
Oh, yeah,
got on another trans woman's channel and porn bombed it.
Yeah, they have mine
Yeah.
too. But I asked a simple question. What is my son or my granddaughter's name? And they're saying they were having problems with their cam and mic. And I'm like, nope, you're out of here. And then I found
yeah.
out she was already live on her channel.
Yeah. And Mama, she would know that. So
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's why I said I asked a specific question. Like, yeah, you're out of here. So anyway,
yeah.
you all have a good night. Thank you, Summer, for letting me open a panel tonight. I think it was good. We were all kind of bored.
Hey.
And we had good conversation out of it all. And new people we got to meet. I love it.
Yeah, it's been a great night.
Christine.
Christine, you're awesome.
Well, thank you guys. Bye. Love everybody.
Bye bye.
Thanks
Bye.
for everything.
Damn, it's fucking lip gloss. That's my damn lighter.
Yeah, the moderators don't get enough credit. Like if you go on my channel and you see anything that looks good, that's Mage Grey Wolf.
Oh yeah. Well,
My-
ours.
my-
is
I
Katrina. She
started my
makes
channel
everything.
7 years ago as an experiment of how far could I get on YouTube without putting in any actual effort.
Yeah.
Which
so
is why
Katrina,
it's
my
7
mom,
years and I haven't got to 1,000 subscribers yet.
Well, hopefully we can get you some more subscribers. Yeah, Katrina does all the pretty stuff that you see over here. She does all of that, and then Casey and Mama Bear and Christine kind of help me with a bunch of other shit, research and running the panel. Sometimes I just started this a couple weeks ago. I was like, like I'm working and I'm busy sometimes. I was like, if y'all want, y'all can just do a panel. Like I don't care. So Christine's been doing it. And it's been going. We do game night on Friday nights too, because I try to have one night. And afterwards, we have a panel or whatever. But I have one night where we try to have a little bit of fun, and it's just silly, and it's whatever.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm
I hang
curious
out,
as
I
well.
hang out with Dr. Ben on Twitch. I'm doing a
There you
trivia
go.
night, which is always
I-
fun.
I just don't
Oh,
like
yeah.
Twitch. I've tried to get on there. I just don't like it.
I just can't
Many
figure it
people
out.
will.
I haven't given up though.
Yeah,
but
I
can't.
found it confusing.
Yeah.
Well, also I've yet to forgive the people who made me create an account on Twitter, so I don't want to be creating accounts on more places.
Well, there's that. Yeah, there's that.
Yeah, I don't like Twitch. They're strict on what you can put on there.
Yeah, I haven't quite figured it
You
out
know, well, they're strict in certain ways. It's rather interesting. But anyway,
I've
about
had
the
'em-
guns.
I'll broadcast gameplay, right, off my like PlayStation, Xbox, and I'll be playing. Next thing is they boot my stream, and it's like, what did I
Yeah,
do?
That's probably a
I-
copyright claim by whoever wrote the game, or actually whoever published the game.
Yeah, but I would put
Do
it
not-
in streamer mode so it would bypass that. Because you can do that on games now. Like, if it's like music or something in there that's copyrighted, you can go into the settings in the games and turn on streamer mode so it won't broadcast that music or play it.
I don't understand what the whole fixation around guns is, to be honest. I just think it's.
'Cause, what was it, July 4th? Or a little after July 4th, I decided, okay, you know what? I'm going to do the Firecracker 400 at Daytona. So I named the stream that, and then they booted the stream. It's like, what?
Yeah.
I missed the
Well,
Firecracker 400.
Yeah, that,
What were you saying, Stephanie?
I don't understand what the fixation on guns is, to be honest. I just think, it seems perfectly obvious to me that we have too many guns in circulation, that not enough people are responsible about guns, and I think that reasonable qualifications are in order with guns. It's like, and the thing is, like, they're coming for my guns, is like, anybody who's saying they're coming for my guns probably ought to have their guns taken away.
Yeah, but
To be
the
honest,
problem is,
It's a good point.
when I was in junior high back in 2000, right? Because
Yeah.
junior high and high school were together. I felt more
Yeah.
safer being in that high school with the kids having their hunting rifles, shotguns in their
Sure.
vehicles.
Oh yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
with that.
But
Well,
this was a small town,
I'm from a
like
similar
1,400
place.
people.
Different.
Yeah,
Oh
I'm
yeah,
from a
times are
similar
different. Back
place.
then you could
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah, you can have like growing up. I mean, I don't know if they'd even let you do it now, but you'd have, you have gun racks and trucks, right? Is that kind of what you mean?
Yeah, they'd have gun racks in their trucks with their guns there,
Sure.
ammunition, whatever, because they'd go hunting after school. And
Right,
school
on school
allowed it. They
grounds
didn't care.
and- Right.
That's
They
okay.
still have that all over the town where my family lives in Michigan.
But that's
you'll see
okay.
Trucks with gun racks in every parking lot.
Yeah, I
Don't
don't.
see a problem with that.
I mean,
What
when I
I
think
do see
about
a
it,
problem
sometimes-
with is, like, every fucking form of firearm ought to be available to every fucking human being on the planet, and I don't
Yeah.
think that's rational.
My eldest
know,
brother has said unironically that the guns are to protect them from the government. So that as long as the government can have tanks, he has the right to have anti-tank missiles.
Does your
Yeah, and I think the
brother-in-law
Supreme
believe that
Court's
you ought to
even
have?
with that.
Does your brother-in-law think you ought to have thermonuclear weapons? I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
where do you
Not my
draw the
brother-in-law,
line
my
there?
eldest brother.
All right. I mean, I just don't.
I don't think
It's
I
like-
don't think anybody should have nuclear weapons. That's part of our history we should have never
Yeah,
tapped into.
except the logic is the same. You know, we need to have guns to protect ourselves against the government, protect ourselves against an oppressive government, and like, where does the line stop there?
I'll
Uh,
tell you.
The
Ukrainians
Second
will know
Amendment
that
says
line.
a well-regulated militia being necessary for the preservation of a free state. Congress shall make no law against the right of the citizens to bear arms. Okay, fine, but where do you draw the line? Congress
Well-
shall make no law against the right of a citizen to own an assault rifle to go shoot up a fucking shopping mall. I mean, they're the well regulated part seems to be dropped away.
Well, like I say,
Uh,
I have no problem with somebody, having hunting rifles. Some people feel they, want to have handguns that I'm more iffy on, but yeah, mostly it's like all the automatic weapons. It's like if you need 30 shots before you've hit your target, you just need to go target shooting more in practice.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
one thing
we
that needs
kind
to
of
happen
banned
does-
automatic weapons in the
one thing that
1920s,
happens-
but
thing that happens that doesn't happen that needs to happen. The mental illness in our country needs to be addressed on a very serious matter.
Yeah.
To the point where
Mhm.
people can get help and different things like that. I think sometimes we have all these conversations. I understand that not everybody's for guns, and I respect the people that even have different opinions when it comes to that. But for me, it's I believe that like especially that's one specific topic that we just don't talk about the real issue of it, which to me is mental illness, because
Yeah.
in a lot of situations that's exactly what it
Well,
is.
I
Yeah, but
grant you that's
Reagan's
a
the one
topic
that-
that intersects with it. But yes, mental illness is a separate topic. Mental illness and drug addiction, should be treated as health topics.
Yeah, but
Mhm.
Reagan's the one that shut down the mental health system in 81 instead of
Yes.
fixing it because of all
And
the
there's a lot of
issues.
people-
It's like we're shutting all the hospitals down.
There's a lot of people since 81 that could have helped fix this and have all put
Yeah.
their thumb up their asses. So
Yeah.
Yeah, but Reagan's pretty much the father of it. Started all that.
yeah.
Before that, we never had an issue with really mental illness because if somebody was mentally ill,
No,
they put them into a facility. Yes, they were
that's
getting
not the
abused and
answer, but
stuff.
see, hold on, wait a minute though. I have to, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but that's not
Sounds
the
like
answer.
we are going back, as a matter of fact.
Instead of dealing with the problem, we just lock it away like that. I just don't believe that that's what needs to happen in
Yeah,
every
but
situation.
some people with mental illness might not be able to function in society.
Yeah,
So
but even
they need a
nowadays,
place to where they can get help and be able to function.
right? But there's
But
all
not
kinds
everybody
of-
with it needs to be locked up.
Okay.
There's
yeah.
all kinds of different programs nowadays. We're not living in the 1950s and 60s and even 80s anymore. We're living in 2024 where there's adult programs. There's all kinds of in living type of things. There's all kinds of answers. So to just be like, oh,
Right. Your-
lock
your
everybody away, like no.
Right. You have to
Yeah.
qualify for your insurance. They have to determine, is it on a residential,
Yeah.
outpatient, is it a drug
Yeah.
therapy, are you just seeing
And
your doctor once
that's a
a
big
month?
problem. Is
So-
it comes back to money, and it comes
Well,
back to funding the systems.
Yeah, that's part of it. But what I'm saying is that there can't be a person that just decides this is the way it should
Right,
be.
yeah.
I mean, even your insurance company isn't down with that.
Right. It's a based on base type of situation. And I just think that's an easy fix is just to throw people at a mental hospital or whatever and be like, all right, cool, whatever, you're there. But like there's so many things that, some mental illness can it be a lifelong type of thing and maybe, affect some people depending on what doctor you talk to, I guess. But I believe that, with the right treatment, I've seen people with severe shit, you know what I mean? And with the right fucking treatment and the right support system, overcome that. So
Yeah.
I just think locking people away, even in the prison system, parole and shit, that shit's made to keep you in jail. Like that shit's
Think of it-
Well,
Think of it in
psychic.
terms
Well,
of women. Like
the
just what's happened to
problem-
women and their mental
Well, yeah,
health.
and if I don't
I
want
was
you
just
in my
talking
uterus,
last
then I don't.
It's like,
Yeah,
don't
like
make those laws and
the-
then say women are crazy and put them all in psych wards. No,
Exactly.
you just
The,
give
the
women.
problem with the
right.
intersection of mental illness and gun control is that there's not a good overlap there. I mean, it's like if you got a gun, you have the ability to apply deadly force in any situation, whether you're mentally ill or not. You know, and people can make the excuse, oh well, this person was disturbed and they pulled the trigger on somebody. Uh, uh, but it seems to me that the people who are uh, most enthusiastic about saying gun rights are making exceptions. Oh, well, somebody did something with a gun that was bad. They must have been mentally ill.
Right.
But that's not always the case. Somebody did something with a gun because they had an impulse.
Mm-hmm.
And it was not a function of mental illness, except maybe temporarily. Oh, you were temporarily insane, and you did something stupid. But the thing is that a weapon of deadly force, broadly available to people who do stupid things all the time, which is to say everyone, is not the best way to fulfill the promise of the Second Amendment, which is to say a well-regulated militia.
Yeah.
It's like you're not well regulated if you're using your AR-15 to just wander around and do target practice. I mean, the idea, again, going back to the thinking of the time, it's well-regulated militia was somewhat along the Swiss model. Yeah, you can have a gun, but we're going to train you. And you're going to keep your gun in our armory. And when you want your gun, you come to our armory and do your target practice and do your stuff. It's the idea that what was the Supreme Court decision that was an individual right? Heller. It was the Heller decision, where Scalia basically wrote in, for the first time in American history, there was an individual right to own a weapon. It was the first time in American history that was the thing.
Okay, I have to just say, from Sweden's perspective, there's different layers there where people are compelled to serve and compelled to learn, and so it's a different structure.
Right. I'm talking in an American context here.
Yeah.
I just don't. I don't understand why it's like, well, yeah, well, I should have a right to own all of these things, and it's like, well, that's not what it was understood to be as a right until the Heller decision, and I think the Heller decision wasn't wrongly decided.
Well, I couldn't imagine. I'm never gonna, imagine going anywhere and asking somebody, "Can I use my gun?" even for target practice or anything like that. It's my right to carry a gun, and I own that. And I just think that, people that don't, because I have a lot of friends that don't like guns or don't really care for them or whatever, and I respect that. I get that. I think it's an individual decision. You know what I mean? But it's
You
taking
can have a
guns.
gun. I got a gun. It's not. I don't have a problem with it. I just
Taking guns
want
away
the well-regulated part to be
isn't gonna stop
part of the
the killings
conversation.
and all that kind of stuff, because statistics and other countries and even here show that, I mean, a lot of people die by knives, and we've seen people use cars, and they'll use anything they want to use. And On top of that, we have 3D
Yeah.
printers that are printing off guns, and just the logic of them coming and taking guns. And I'm not saying, Stephanie,
There's-
that's what you are saying. There are people out there that think that though. They're like, oh, they're gonna come take our guns. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And it's like, no, it's just, and it doesn't solve anything. So I think, you know,
Possible, too.
So
How
if I remember the statistics right,
Yeah.
the first one's like blunt force trauma, then knife, then firearm.
yeah,
It's like third or
I know
fourth on the
firearms is not
list.
the first- yeah.
From-
So, but they use that, right? They use because come on, man. I mean, we all know, like, and there's not a person in this world, I think, that, you know, when the mass shootings happen at schools and anywhere, anybody in my city, people die individually by guns all the time. You know what I mean? But I also know that's just something that, you know, a lot of people don't even understand that more people die, even in our country, by knives and other things before it even comes to a gun. You know what I mean? And they can do bad things, but they're not the only thing that can do bad things. Anything can be used. A shoestring can be used as a weapon if somebody wants to.
I mean, yeah, if guns are so bad, then why aren't we banning alcohol, cigarettes?
Jesus.
Yeah.
That kills more people than firearms has ever done in a year.
I just think that with mental illness, I think if we could somehow, you know, like make it better, it doesn't just benefit gun stuff, right? I think mental illness is one of our biggest, if not our biggest problem in our country, especially, and that's the only place I can speak from. It's the only place I know. But you know, trying to get help and then putting you on waiting lists, and if your insurance covers, if your insurance doesn't cover, it's such a fucking hassle. And if you're lucky enough to finally do get some help, then trying to find the right type of person that understands the shit you're going through. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
hard.
with like insurance
The
though.
network in itself is just
Well-
almost impossible,
With insurance though,
especially for someone in crisis. Sorry.
there
go
might
ahead.
there might be an actual medication that will actually help you, but Medicaid, oh, you got to try 10 other medications before we'll approve this medication that we know will help you.
Even though there's now a test that, you know, can test you and see what kind of medication works better for you, you know what I mean? And some people don't want to do medication. Some people want to do natural stuff. So there's all kinds of that's what I'm saying. Like, if we could
And there's
just really put
that are
the
just
funding
assholes,
and
and
the
they will
support.
They will use guns.
Well, yeah, that too.
Mental
I mean,
health
but I'm
So-
just talking about
Yeah,
any chance I
people
can talk about mental health on
Yeah.
even, you know, outside of just guns, because man, people are going through shit. Like, that's the whole reason.
So
I think it's Purple is doing the Christmas party because people are alone during the holidays. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's crazy.
Beautiful. Purple, that
It's
is
just-
so
there's a lot of things
suppose
we can do as a society that can help with mental illness, but they take the funding and the programs and different things like that away daily. You know what I mean? They just want to put you on a fucking pill and give you some whack ass doctor that ain't gonna fucking help you, because if we keep you stuck, I can make money off of you that way. So okay, I'm gonna shut up. My bad.
So suppose we separate the two issues, and suppose you had a situation where you treated the registration of guns like you do the registration of automobiles. And suppose that you needed to provide proof of insurance.
Oh
you
my
do.
gosh.
I
don't
mean, well,
know.
people don't do that with cars, but I do think people that have gun insurance, I think that's not a bad thing, because there's a lot of different reasons why it can help you and keep you safe. I have no issue with that. But how many people do you know in all of our cities that are driving around? Even maybe some people. I mean, I have license and insurance now, but I haven't always driven like that. So
Well, in my
It's
state,
the
you're
insurance
required
gonna
to
benefit.
provide. You're provided to proof. You're required to provide proof of insurance every time, every year you go back to register your
Oh, yeah.
automobile.
yeah,
I'm
me too. I mean,
carrying
I
a
have
gun
full coverage
around.
insurance.
I don't need
but there's-
insurance on a gun.
Right. So suppose you regulated guns the same way.
Well, I'll tell you
That
why
way.
insurance with a gun
Well, it would have
actually
to be
is
way
okay.
different than that for me.
The insurance on the gun stuff will help you just in case you ever was to have to shoot. You automatically get a lawyer. There's all kinds of different things that protect you as a gun owner.
Yeah.
So if you have
Yeah.
the extra money, you know what I mean, which most people don't nowadays, but if you do have the extra money, there's a lot of programs out there that are really good for gun owners, but it's not something you have to do, you know what I mean, like at all. But I think
No.
it benefits, because if I shoot somebody, man, you get a lawyer, you get all this different shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
That'll help you
Right.
in just in case.
Right. And it also provides a little bit of tracking as to, all right, you used this weapon in this particular way against a human being. I mean, I'm not talking about shooting a moose or a deer. I'm talking about the way guns are, the issue of person-on-person violence, person-on-person gun violence. And, it seems to me that would be perfectly reasonable.
They already
But
do that.
sometimes-
Well, I
No,
think
they
there's a lot
don't.
of regulation.
Yeah, the manufacturer,
I wouldn't want that one.
when the manufacturer makes a gun in a barrel, they have to do a couple shots with it, send one casing and bullet to the ATF. They have to keep that on file for 10 years or longer. And then once it gets sold to an FFL, the ATF knows that. And when the FFL either gets it to an individual or to another person, or like another FFL, they know when that's transferred. And
Well,
if
yeah,
that person uses it in a crime and ditches it and they find it, they can trace it back. They know who has what gun.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, when I get all my guns that I purchased, just
But
like Scott was saying,
the final
all my guns are registered.
buyer, but the final buyer is not responsible for registering the weapon.
Every gun owner, if your
Yeah,
state requires
but
it,
you're supposed, okay, like say I sell you a gun, right? I'm going to write the serial number down, your driver's license information, address, all that. So after I sell it, I'm going to hold on to that because I know I bought it from an FFL. You use it in a crime, but the ATF's going to come talk to me and I can be like, no, I sold it to this person. And then they'll come talk to you and so on. It's already supposed to be done.
Yep.
Supposed to be.
yeah, a lot of. I mean, the people that are going to do the things. Somebody said, blah, blah, let me go back up. Sorry. Just because some people will break the laws doesn't mean there should be no laws. And I agree with that as well. Trust me, I see shit every single day. I'm not ready to live in a world without no laws, like not at all. But a lot of people, a lot of places have where there are stuff that, you can follow. You know what I mean? Like register your gun, different gun laws or whatever. And the people that are going to follow those laws, they're going to follow the laws. The people that aren't going to follow laws, it doesn't matter what law we create, they're not going to follow the law. You know what I mean? It's just, it is what it is. Like,
right.
blah, blah, blah. Salt said just a second ago. I mean, some people are just going to be fucking assholes and they're going to do what they want, and no matter. So why continue? So why continue to punish people that are doing the right things with even more and more and more have laws? That's why I said there's sensible gun laws that if they were just enforced, I think would do a lot of good in some
start.
Yeah, it would be definitely a start. But we want to keep creating new laws. Yeah, exactly. We want to keep creating laws instead of enforcing the ones that are already on the books. But here, let's go create a bunch of more.
Good.
Do the ones that are on the fucking books.
And then
they're not
all
doing
right,
that.
fine. But the ones that are all there, there was a law on the books that said you couldn't own you couldn't own a military style rifle.
Well, I mean,
It would go against the Second Amendment.
I don't think that would affect me personally.
But it wasn't. It just expired. It was never found to be unconstitutional. It just expired. And ever since it expired, more and more crimes and mass shootings have been committed using that particular weapon.
More and more people that are desperate. That's why crimes are happening.
No, that's
I have my gun sitting right here. My gun's just sitting here chilling until I decide to pick that motherfucker up and do something with it.
That's fine. Is it an AR-15?
I got one well, it don't matter what I have, but yeah, I can have one.
Yeah, I got one too.
I don't.
Yeah, I like guns, so.
I like guns too. They're fine. But I'm not going to be a fucking. I'm not going to be a. I'm not going to be against the regulation of those guns.
But don't you agree though? If maybe we should like give it a shot, like Salt's saying, and force the ones that are on the books, because we continue to try to create, and they use
Well,
this. This is that emotional. This hold on. This is that emotional division I keep talking about, right? They keep using this instead of just putting the ones that are on the books. See how that goes, and then if we need some improvement, okay, cool. Then we'll go address some of these other things. But instead, they keep playing with people's emotions, and this shit literally gets people
Well,
yelling and
it's not a-
screaming and hating
To me,
each
it's
other.
like
It-
trying to make
It's
decisions
not an
without having
it's not
to
an
make-
emotional thing. It's when people can pick up a gun as easily as people can pick up a gun and shoot a
And-
bunch of people up.
Hold on,
That's-
I'm not saying I was using that as a theory. I wasn't saying my guns is just laying around. I was using that as a conversational piece, sweetie. So I'm not being responsible as fuck. All my shit's
No,
up,
and
not- I
I'm my
literally
my
using it as a.
my
I think
The point is,
my
when we're
weapon
doing an
is in the
analysis,
gun safe.
when we're
Yeah.
trying to have a conversation to determine what gun laws would be effective, we don't know because we are not
Exactly.
even enforcing the ones that we have. So how can we
Well,
make
yeah,
good
but we
decisions about
are.
what to enforce if we can't even decide
I
if our
just-
own laws are effective because we won't enforce them? So I just say we
I-
start there, but I think more regulation would be great if it helps.
I dispute the notion that we are actually enforcing the laws.
we're
that we
not.
have.
I don't think we are.
Well-
They do get enforced, but it's on very rare occasions.
I know when
I know a bunch of convicted felons who just got federally indicted on 922G for being
Yeah,
in
but it's
possession of
too
firearms.
My
But it's
point is, it's too
selective.
fucking easy to get a hold of a weapon and go ahead and use it. I mean, Kyle Rittenhouse. It's all right. I'm gonna pick up a gun and go over to fucking Milwaukee and shoot up a bunch of people. It's like, you know.
I chased him out of a college, by the way, not too long ago.
And that was perfectly legal. What he did was perfectly legal. It was
Yeah.
adjudged to be perfectly legal. And so when you tell me we need to enforce our gun laws, when the dude picks up a fucking weapon and crosses state lines and shoots a couple of people because he could, it's because he had the weapon. And he wouldn't have been able to do that if he hadn't had easy access to the fucking weapon.
So, okay,
I'm
what's
sorry.
let me ask you this then. If we're going to ban the AR-15, then we might as well ban every car out there. People use vehicles to kill people.
Yeah,
Oh,
why
for
do you need a
fuck's sake.
Hummer?
No, they
Let's
don't.
do the GOP.
No,
Yeah, they do.
fucking
Look at
don't.
fucking
No, they fucking
Daryl
don't.
Brooks went into a crowd in a goddamn parade and mowed people down with a vehicle.
And you know what?
This is sad.
And you know what? That was reckless driving. He got arrested. He got, et cetera and so forth.
Yeah, but
Where's
there's no
Kyle Rittenhouse
difference.
today?
He used a vehicle as a weapon.
There's
No difference in using an AR in a mass shooting. then.
And let me ask you this. Is an automobile designed to actually kill things?
Yes.
It is. So Ford Motor Company designed the Model T in order to effect the destruction of human life.
Yeah.
Really?
No.
That's fucking crazy.
No, it ain't, because most of Ford's vehicles, most of
are not
Diamond Chrysler, Chevy.
Automobiles are designed to provide transportation. Guns are designed to provide the ways and means of killing things.
There's no difference, though. You've
Yeah.
got vehicles that have
Are
fucking
you
rocket
fucking
launchers.
kidding me, dude?
Well, it's how you use it. It's the intent of the person using it and for what
Yeah,
purpose.
it
That
comes
way,
down to
Yeah,
intent.
but
it could be a
but
hammer.
no. But fuck that noise. Fuck that noise. Is an automobile
still-
designed as a killing machine?
Yes,
Yes or no?
Well,
we use them in war all the
Okay.
damn time.
Is an automobile is designed is designed conceptually. When you get in your car, you think that you have entered into a vehicle that is designed to kill things,
Yeah,
right?
depends on your
You do.
mindset.
You do.
If you get in that
You
vehicle
do.
and decide,
Oh,
oh,
you
I'm gonna go
fucking
drive down the
idiot.
damn sidewalk and
Jesus
mow down
Christ.
a bunch of
You
people.
must be fucking kidding me. You can't see the difference between an automobile. Is
It
a
comes down
it's a
to
oh wait
intent.
whoa is
Yeah,
a
intent
swimming pool is a swimming pool designed as a killing machine.
The intention makes it the killing machine, by the way.
Yeah,
I just wanted to chime in. I'm eating some nuts.
I mean, you gotta be kidding me.
Side of this,
Is a sword designed as something to cut up kielbasa or something else?
Depending on the intentions.
it all
Oh, for
comes down to
fuck's
intent.
sake.
okay, but
Oh my God! You people are crazy.
You could take a gun and go to target practice and just shoot at just unalive targets. But then if you have the intentions to turn the gun into a mortal weapon, then yes, you can take life with it.
Is a horse designed as a weapon?
If he decides to go in front of you and kick you with his hind legs, then yes.
You people are fucking crazy.
It all comes down to intent. It does not matter what the object
No,
is.
it doesn't come down to intent.
Yes, it
It's
does.
like
I could pick up a laptop and smash your brains in with it. That laptop now just became a weapon. It's because
that's
I
aggravated.
decided to pick
Yeah.
the laptop up to kill you with it. There has to be intent.
But the design of your laptop is certainly not. You would agree that the design of a laptop is certainly not to be used as a weapon.
I
Is
really
it?
want to sing the what is it? The MacGyver. What is the theme song? Anyone know it? I want to sing it right now.
I mean, anything can be used as a weapon.
Yeah.
I'll grant you that. But the design is not the design of a laptop, the design of an automobile, the design of almost anything that is not intentionally designed to be a weapon
I think you
is
would've done
not
better with the inverse argument.
inherent in the design of a weapon. There is the intent that that weapon will be used to kill things. It's not the intent of a laptop or an automobile to kill things in its design.
Well, I don't know what Henry Ford
Right?
was thinking. I'm not reading
Yeah.
his mind. But when I see someone mowing down people, it's evident what
Still
their
comes to
intent was.
intention, though.
No,
If I can go
the
get an AR and
intention
set it
of
on
the
my bed,
design.
that
Y'all
AR
are
is not
missing
going
the
to kill
point.
anybody.
The intent of the design of the article we are speaking of. There's a fundamental difference between the intent of the design of the article
Stephanie,
of saying,
try
the-
inverting your argument, okay?
yeah,
Instead of asking if a car is designed as a weapon, does a gun have any day-to-day purpose other than killing things?
thank you, Purple. That's exactly right.
Okay, but one could also extrapolate that. Let's say, for example, at the design of a gun, it's just meant to shoot a projectile. What gives it functionality is what you decide to
Oh, for
aim
fuck's
at.
sake.
And
Does
that comes
anyone
with
Yeah,
go
but
intention.
shopping in the meat section?
Yeah, the point of shooting out projectiles is so that you can kill things from a distance far enough away that they can't
Or to hit-
retaliate.
The point
Yes,
of
we
of
could
the
definitely
point-
surmise
the
that for like
point-
hunting and
the,
stuff.
the,
Yes.
the point of
But
shooting out a
ultimately-
wait. The point of shooting out a projectile is to do what? Answer that.
It depends on what you aim at. You could aim at a rock or a wall.
No.
You could aim at a target
What
for
is
sport. The functionality comes with the intention when you aim the weapon at something.
Whoa. Stop. The point of shooting out a projectile is to what?
Again,
Well,
it depends on what you're aiming it at.
Right,
Some people
exactly.
pick up a gun to shoot a
Okay.
target for sport, and other people use it
Yes,
to hunt.
but
So
whoa,
again, you're
stop,
failing to
stop,
understand.
Stop,
Oh, okay.
stop.
Stephanie, okay.
It is to hit a target, correct?
Just like using a hammer.
It could be,
is like-
it could literally, but
target.
you can hit a target that's not biological.
yeah.
So the functionality changes depending on what your
Yes,
intentions
that's-
are.
that's true.
Okay, so if you agree with me, then
is the design of an automobile to hit a target?
if it again, it goes back to
We're going
intentions
into
because hold on, no, don't start screaming, Stephanie. Let me finish. If I get in a car,
I didn't
right?
scream. I didn't
Hold
say
on,
a fucking word.
hold on. If I get in a car, right, and I decided to repeat what Darrell Brooks did that day, right? The weapon, the vehicle going at 50 miles per hour then becomes a lethal weapon. Do you not agree? Because if I purposely hit someone at 50 to 60 miles, am I going to
but
kill
you're
them?
missing the point. You're missing the point that Purple raised. The design of the automobile is transportation. The design of a gun or a bow and arrow is to hit a target. Now you could make a little a little elision to say the target is for me to get from Portland to Chicago. But I'm not trying to hit Chicago, right? I'm trying to get to Chicago, right?
I think that's a good point to say that that's why it's specifically addressed in law. This argument of guns and how to control it and why it's an ongoing issue. We don't try to regulate other items in the same way. That's for sure. But it comes down to the intent of a person and what they choose to do with that thing.
Let me
It's
ask
not
you a
about-
question. So, let me ask you a question, right? You're being a woman, right?
Mhm.
If
think
let's say,
so.
for example, you lived in a like bad part of town, right?
Mhm.
Would you, as a woman, consider carrying on you for self-defense?
Would I consider carrying it for self-defense? Is that what you asked?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
100%.
So for you, that would mean self-preservation, correct?
Yes. And I've
Okay.
had a gun in my home and it's same purpose. Yeah.
Okay. So, do you think, because at this point, as of recently, felons can now restore their two-way rights, right? So some are actually legally now allowed to carry guns, right? Under the fact that they've committed a crime, they paid their time, now they're out into society. Not that they should be forgiven, but they pretty much did what they had to do in order to restore some rights. Okay.
Okay.
So, when it comes to this debate between whether we should have guns or not, do you think that the state, like for example, I can only speak about New York City and like places like Chicago. In those places, you're more than likely to be a part of a gun crime. Meaning, if you're getting shot at, if you're getting robbed. So, but at the same time, I'm not also advocating that if people have a gun and they decide to use it, that potentially the consequences are that someone ends up dying, right? Whether it be a teen or older an adult, whoever it may be that decides to put that thing, that their life at risk. So, with saying all that, I don't think when it comes to the gun debate, I just think I'm as a centrist, I'm really too pro, but I don't think there's not much we can do, because if we disarm citizens, then we're leaving this opening where if a criminal does obtain a weapon, then most of us are just going to be like sitting cattle. Like it is what it is. We're not going to have a means to defend ourselves. In New York State, we're not allowed to have batons, tasers. We're not allowed to have pepper spray, body
Yeah,
armor.
And I wouldn't carry it out in public, but yeah, I see all of that. And I mean, I'm not comfortable taking a gun on my person and just going out. I've kept it at my house to preserve
But
myself.
yes,
Yeah.
and to answer the question in the chat, yes, of course. I own a firearm, and by the logic made to kill, why'd you purchase one? For self-defense, yes. But I'm not so stupid as to not understand what the instrument was made to do. The instrument was made to achieve damage to a target. An automobile is not made to achieve damage to a target. That is the difference between an automobile and a firearm.
There is no
And anybody
difference.
who does
Because
not
firearms-
understand, and anybody who does not understand the difference in the intent should not own a fucking firearm.
In your
or
opinion,
perhaps-
Stephanie, in your
wait,
opinion.
wait, or an automobile. I mean, for fuck's sake, that is absolutely elemental. You buy a gun because you want either to do target practice, to procure food, to kill things, or to enjoy this stuff. You don't buy an automobile to drive through a fucking dam. You buy an automobile to get from here to there. I mean, that's pretty fucking simple.
Yeah.
And if you don't understand that, then I've got nothing more to say to you.
I
Have you
would
not
take
seen
your
the-
point on that
Have you
because
seen? I'm sorry. Have you seen the videos of people using their cars at like projectiles when they get into fights?
I
at, like, car
don't
meets?
care, man. They weren't designed to do it. A fucking gun was designed to shoot at things. A car wasn't designed to shoot at things. Are you this fucking thick?
You don't need
Guns
to be
were originally
insultive,
created
though. You
to
can say
prepare
things
you
without
for
being
survival.
sassy.
Same with automobiles, but they became weapons. Period.
No, a gun was designed as a weapon. An automobile
Well, I
was
hope that
designed
everyone-
as a means of transportation.
anyone that buys a gun, yes, if they don't understand that it's a gun, they shouldn't be buying a gun if they don't know what a gun does.
Yeah, but that would
Exactly.
trends on their
That point,
two-way
I
rights,
think
though.
that's easy to concede, but
But
tsunami.
apparently not, because,
Yeah, I
Whatever.
would like you to bring up Tsunami's point again, or Tsunami.
Yeah, right. I actually worked in the field with domestic violence victims and quite a bit, and that needs to be brought up as well because it intensifies what the lethality. Like when we're doing a lethality assessment, when you're looking at a domestic violence situation and you're looking at a risk assessment, so there would be a risk assessment and a lethality assessment. And if there's a gun in the home, that would knock everything up on an exponential scale. And Tsunami's kind of raised that as, that needs to be addressed with when we're considering handguns, controlling handguns,
Yeah.
and how that impacts domestic violence situations. Absolutely. That's kind of scary. I don't know. What do other people think of that?
They already have laws for DV though. They're gonna start banning people from applying to federal and state jobs if you have like a DV charge. So, and that goes for both sides, literally. Like whoever gets called into the house and
Yeah. but-
whoever hit who, they just ban you from owning
Well-
a gun as well.
Do you
And-
think that's
yeah,
a
and
good
this-
idea?
the
It's-
domestic
I don't
violence
know.
thing
That's
just-
tough.
the
They're
domestic
they're
violence
still
thing goes
arguing
back to what
the
I was
Rahimi
talking about
case on
before
that.
with Tim Waltz. That what he was passing were just doing better background checks to make sure this person does not have any history of violent crimes before selling them a gun.
Yeah, but we've always had that then.
We
Right.
have, but it's not being enforced well. That one needs to be worked on.
Yeah, but the only problem is with DV and firearms. Texas, somebody sued the state of Texas. Rahimi sued the state of Texas. Then it got appealed to the Supreme Court, and then they told him to go back to the Texas court. But then another case just passed, and now it sounds like Rahimi's going back to the Supreme Court. And if the Supreme Court rules that the domestic violence protection orders and people that have committed domestic violence, it violates their Second Amendment, the firearms are out of play, pretty much. They'll be able to own.
Well, and that's again what I was saying earlier, that we need something about the background checks and such, passed at a federal level, so it is the same no matter what state you go to.
I think that would
They,
be helpful.
you have the 4473, which is all federal.
What does that say? I'm not familiar. I really
The
don't know.
4473 form, you got to put your name, address. Have you ever been involuntary committed? Are you a convicted felon? It asks a bunch of questions, and then the ATF runs a background check on you. And if stuff has been reported to NCIC, they will deny the sale of the firearm.
Can you help? Because I don't know. I'm just asking a question. I really have no idea how this would work. But how does that work with personal sales?
They just made it illegal for private party sales. That now, technically, private party sales, you have to go to an FFL to transfer it under 4473.
Wow, and that's federal?
That's federal.
Wow, that's a good start.
Okay.
Yeah,
but
they closed that loophole like they closed the loophole with gun shows. Technically, gun shows now, everybody has to 4473.
Oh, wow.
But do you know what happens with those forms after they're filled out?
The dealer's supposed to hold on to them for 10 years.
Wow, it's a long time.
Well,
And plus, they just changed all the laws now. If you sell more than it's up for debate. If it's one gun or multiple guns, you're supposed to have an FFL dealer's license now.
Wow.
Even private party, like if you sell a gun, it's in the courts right now on that part. If private party is supposed to have the FFL if they sell one gun, or if it's supposed to be so many guns a year or a month. But if the ATF can prove you're doing it as a business and you don't have an FFL, you can get in trouble.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
probably should.
again, a point Tsunami's bringing up there, yeah. That, yeah, I think that just like you have to take a driving test to drive a car, if you're going to buy a gun, you should have to go out to a firing range and show that you know proper safety protocol and you know how to handle it.
Oh, I agree with that. You should have to go through some type of gun safety course and training course before you can own, or at least have it at your house.
Yeah,
If you're
because
going to own a firearm, it has to stay at the range until you pass that course.
that's not a bad idea. Yeah, because when I first bought a gun, it was because I got divorced. There was a lot of reasons why I wanted to have it, but I didn't know how to use it. They're just, I was like, well, let me get a hollow point round because then I would only have to use one bullet, right? The guy's like, girl, if you have to unload on someone that broke into your house, empty it. I'm like, oh, okay, that's probably good advice. Like, I just didn't know anything about it. So
yeah, no, that's
not very
bad advice
knowledgeable.
because you don't know where those bullets are going and they're going to your neighbors' houses.
yeah, that could.
I mean, I just can't believe that people can't tell the difference between an automobile and a firearm.
That's very
That would be-
insultive.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. You wouldn't like it if I treated you that way, huh, Stephanie?
Huh? You don't understand the difference between an automobile and a firearm.
No, in your
It comes
opinion.
down to
In
intent.
your
It
opinion.
is
Because there have been
We
people
have
that
our
have
own
bought
opinion.
automobiles
Design.
who
At
kill
the
comes
people.
very
down-
least,
It comes
at the
down
very
to
least,
design.
Stephanie.
No,
Let's
no,
talk
no,
about
no,
bash you
no,
for your
no, just
opinions.
shut the fuck up. Just
You
shut
can't
the
say
fuck up.
that.
Let's talk about
Wow.
the law.
I sure as fuck can.
That's cute.
I sure as fuck can.
That's
I
you're
sure
the
as
third
fuck
today.
can.
Let's approach
I
it this
sure as
way,
fuck
just
can.
from the law. Okay, when
In your
someone
opinion.
gets arrested for committing a
In
crime,
my
let's say-
opinion, you don't apparently you believe that automobiles were designed to kill people.
I didn't say that. I just said that the person
Oh.
behind adds that functionality.
what were guns designed to do?
I don't know why we're back to this.
It doesn't really
For
matter. We have
it's
our own
not
opinion.
hard.
Because you know, the argument that's being made is a what is the word for the fallacy? It's a composition fallacy. That guns are designed to do one thing. They are designed to propel a projectile of lead toward a target. Correct?
So that's a design, but let's talk about the law though. Okay.
No, don't. Let's
Yes,
start
because it
with.
matters,
Let's
because
start.
the law is where we
No,
all
it
find
matters.
consensus.
It matters.
Law-
What matters is the design.
No,
Yo,
the
can we
law
move
is
past
where
this
our
though? I mean,
consensus
it
law.
doesn't matter though whether a gun kills or
No,
not.
it matters
It's
a great
irrelevant.
deal. It
You just
matters
don't want
a
to let it
great
go.
deal.
Hold on. This is just about the law. This is the way. I mean, I just know this is kind of some of the stuff that I've done, but it doesn't matter if it's his gun, if it's a knife, if it's a car, if it's a hammer. It doesn't matter what it is. If you use that in assaulting someone, it's going to make it an aggravated assault because it's a weapon. It doesn't matter what the weapon is. It just matters, and they call it aggravated assault now. So even under the law, those other things would also be considered an equal weapon. A car, using a car for vehicular homicide, the same as a gun, same intent, same consequence. It doesn't matter at all.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying, like, it's not that people can't appreciate that the design, the intent of the design is completely separate, right? I'm not a mind reader of Henry Ford, so I don't know what he was thinking, but I think we can all appreciate that the design is different, but the intent matters, and how that object is used matters. And so that's where the difference gets muddy between a car and a gun. They'd both be
The hill I will die on is the intent of what those two objects.
And just the law
Well,
sees it differently when
The
people.
law is. You're absolutely right. One can use anything. One can use a vase. One can use an elephant
That's a cute elephant.
to commit a crime of a violent crime. One can do that, but a gun or a sword or things that are designed as weapons are designed specifically to be weapons, and they are designed in their instantiation. They are designed to do physical harm to other human beings. Automobiles are not designed to do that.
When I
And
bought a
that
gun,
is the
it was
difference.
specifically because if someone were to come in my house and I was alone and I had my children, they'd be eliminated. I wasn't messing around. I wasn't going to try to fight for them. I would just eliminate them if that were.
Oh yeah, I'm
What
not.
am I thinking?
That's not. That's. I'm not dying on that hill. Of
Yeah.
course, I've already said I have a weapon at my disposal, but I know what it is. It's not an automobile. I'm not going to jump in my car to defend my household against somebody who is coming in. I'm going to go for the gun, and the reason I'm going to go for the gun is because I know what the gun will do. I also know that the automobile has the possibility of doing that, but I know that I'm not going to drive my fucking automobile into my house.
Or someone will drive his car into your bedroom. What are you talking about? That's still a nuance, though.
That's
Yeah,
not
I don't know
nuance,
what that is.
dude. That's not fucking nuance.
You
That's
can
fucking
still,
logic.
yes, but people have driven into people's bedrooms in a malicious with malicious
Yes,
intent.
but
It
not in
has.
self-defense,
That's probable.
you idiot.
Of
It's
course
not
not. It's
self-defense.
self-defense. I'm simply pointing out.
A comment. Let's go back to a comment. Someone had put in, and I don't know where the chats are going or where our people are going. So weapons have built-in intent. that's agreed, but the built-in intent could be different, whether it's protective or to kill someone.
It's only when you use that weapon and something happens,
Oh
then
my
there's
God.
intention.
You-
Now,
I
whether the
don't
intention was to
understand.
physically kill someone or the intention was to intimidate them so they could give you their belongings, you still need
I-
you
No,
still, there's still
dude.
intention.
Family,
Look,
who knows,
what
but
what are guns designed to do?
Yo, I'm past that. You
I
just
mean,
at this point, I'm just
Yeah,
tolerating
but
you
what
being
are they-
disrespectful. You know that, right? I'm just tolerating at this point, but
Huh?
I've never. But in these panels,
Oh,
we've
you're
never
just
had someone like
tolerating,
you.
But you're not
Yes.
fucking responding to the fucking argument here. What are
Well, I think-
guns designed to do?
First of all, how do you guys even get here? Because all I just pointed was the intent part. How the fuck did it actually get here? Because
yeah.
I'm not the one who posed the question, so it must have been someone else.
Because
And
I
you're
said, if
arguing
we're gonna
it,
ban
so who's
ARs,
rebuttaling
might as
it?
well ban vehicles.
He has a point, Stephanie. If you don't
Yeah.
like it, that's his opinion.
Yeah.
We got to grow up, you know. Let's go having opinions. I'm sorry.
Thank you so much. I you know,
But you know that you don't need to be insultive about it, though. That's crazy.
I'm not being insulting. I'm basically saying that this is it seems simple to me. I guess. I guess it's beyond you. A gun
But we
is
don't wanna say that to
designed
people.
as a
But we should
weapon.
move past this because I don't understand how we got here, and this is between you and someone else. So you don't have to
No, it's
direct that
not.
towards me.
No, it's not. And you know, if you want to call me immature,
You can't direct it at me because
that's-
I don't know how this conversation got to that point. That's between you and the person who had this discussion
We're-
originally.
I don't think any of us have said that, but
no, quite honestly,
I think there's a difference
was-
between us agreeing and between us coming to a consensus. And I think we all kind of understood when it comes to the law that any object can be used that way. And that's how the law sees it. That's kind of what we have to deal with. That's the reality for each of us, whether or not we agree with the intent of it. So I don't really feel like we're super disagreeing.
Yeah, I don't get it. Yeah, KS. What
Like, no one's
exactly? What was the
You
whole
know-
format to this? Was this like a
We're
whole?
talking about banning the AR-15, and I said, then we might as well ban vehicles.
Oh,
The argument could be made about kitchen
it
knives
was
as well.
about, it
though.
was about gun control. As I understand it, it was about gun control, and
That
then
too.
somebody brought up automobiles as
Stephanie, I
a
think that we
weapon,
agree with
and
you
and
in a lot of ways.
Yeah, but it's a shitty point,
and
Stephanie.
It's a shitty
I
point, it's a
tried
shitty
to
argument.
point out
Well-
the fundamental difference between an automobile or a swimming pool and
Yeah, we're not-
and a weapon. That's
For what it's
all I was
worth,
trying to say.
I haven't wanted
And
to
y'all
ban
are
either
y'all
automobiles
are
or guns.
basically trying to tell me that there's no difference, and there is.
It all
There's a
comes down to
fundamental
intent
difference.
of how you use the
I
said
haven't wanted
object.
to ban
But it's
automobiles
not-
or
Needs to
guns,
chime
but
in.
for 50 years I've advocated for both to have better control over who's allowed to get one. I really think that we make it way too easy to get a driver's license as well.
Yeah, well, there's
But then
actually-
how much are you going to address the issue until you start to smother it, though? And now it just doesn't become a constitutional right. Now it becomes a privilege, and it's separate, from the 2A. At least the dynamic would change that retrospect, Purple.
Well, the constitutional right, they keep missing that second sentence that says a well-armed militia or a well-trained militia.
That's the first sentence.
I understand. I mean, I think that's the Scully argument, if I'm not mistaken. There's like a few oral arguments that I've heard about it, but I think the core
A
of the issue, from what I'm
well-regulated
understanding,
militia
is that
being
should a
necessary.
citizen be allowed to defend themselves, and in what manner?
Okay.
And if you have, let's say, for example, people that are part of the criminal underworld, it doesn't change the fact that even if you ban guns in the United States, they're going to be smuggled in. Canada's a prime example in the northern region where a particular cartel, which I'm not going to name who they are, they smuggle a lot of guns into Canada. They sell for about 25,000 USD. Way more expensive, the make and model what you're purchasing. That if you would buy it legally, what would cost you 500, you're paying 2,500 USD for. So
That's
it
a
doesn't.
lot of cash.
Yeah, and people are willing to
lot of
pay
money.
for that privilege
Yeah.
to, hey, one day if someone pulls out a gun, and I don't want to die, you can't put a price on that. So I think once they opened up the floodgates of people should be able to preserve their own lives, you can't expect people to like defend themselves when the opposition has a gun.
May I quote the Second Amendment?
It doesn't matter at this point.
Okay.
We're living in an environment where kids
Yeah,
are rolling up on us that don't even have a license to carry a gun, and they still have a gun. So what's the point you're gonna make? We're still hunted
I
over
just
here. So I mean, what's your
just
point?
Want to? My point is, when we're arguing about a fundamental right, I would like to recite the text, and the text is a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's
Yes.
the totality of that amendment.
It was for the states to arm themselves against a tyrannical government. I agree. That's one interpretation of it. That's the problem. When you have this like debate in a constitutional courts, now it's going to be two different oral arguments for it. Which one do you decide is the right one? And because remember, when you talk about the Constitution specifically,
therein-
it has to be read
there-
very carefully. It's not interpreted in
Therein-
postmodern day like literature. It's not the
there-
same thing.
And let's interpret it as postmodern day. Like, let's not even call those states. Let's say states are a government control. Let's say you're in Ukraine and you in that foreign government could be Russia, and they're coming up on your country, and they pass out guns to people. I mean, situations change. Like the government was handing out weapons to their
Same thing in
citizens.
Israel. Didn't you see Israel? They were really anti-gun over there. And then when that thing happened, they pretty much told everyone, yo, you're mandated to carry a gun. Come pick up a gun. They gave you a rifle. They gave you the magazines and off you went. So I don't
Right.
think, at least in America, the idea of we can address the issues or sort of address them. But I mean, ultimately it comes down to availability of mental health care.
Okay.
That's what it literally comes back to. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, and
For
sometimes it's not
forging,
gonna
for
come
forging,
back.
for
It's,
forging thought, I will read it again, specifically including the punctuation. Quote:
please don't. I feel like it's being.
doesn't matter.
well-regulated
Oh my God.
militia,
I think
comma,
like I'm not.
being necessary to
He's
the
blazing
security of a
I
free
still remember
state,
it. I
comma,
still remember.
the right of the people to keep and bear arms, comma, shall not be infringed.
Okay, I'm not a second
Okay.
grader, Stephanie. There is no reason to talk to us this way or repeat it again.
I'm
I'm
not.
aware of it,
I'm
but-
speaking. I'm speaking to a person in the chat.
Okay. Can we agree that this is a complex problem and there's not going to be a simple answer?
I don't think it's complex. It's just that we have a deteriorating mental health crisis in America. You have to think
No,
about
I,
it.
I think that is one element of it. That is
Yeah,
not the
sure.
entire problem.
But you don't think it's like abnormally like ill of a person to pick up a gun and try to like shoot people, and it happens way more often.
No,
In the United
I'm
States?
saying that yes, that is one element of the problem that needs to be addressed. I said that at the beginning, that
Okay.
mental health and drug addiction were part of the problem that we needed to address as health problems. And this country has done a piss poor job of considering those health problems.
I think it's fair to say that the majority of the foundational problems would be more like towards economic, like poverty and all that. Obviously they get less service. So, but I think outside of that, I don't know if like, look, there's no like headway that we've made, at least in certain states, where at least these kids have not stopped killing themselves. Like it's I don't think it's good. We can do anything to make a dent into the situation. It's either we restrict it and we give up some type of freedom, or we just leave it as is and everyone for
Do
themselves.
we give up any freedom when we adhere to the very first sentence of the Second Amendment?
I'm not gonna have you reread it. I can't stay on for that.
Didn't we give up freedoms when we had the Patriot Act? That's a fair one.
No.
We gave up. They were able to set up a surveillance state.
Yes.
They were
we-
able to
Sure.
infringe.
freedoms
We
with
did. They didn't
that.
have those rights. I mean, they
Sure.
did have the. Okay, so
But are we not obligated to give up personal freedom within the phrase a well regulated militia?
I
Does
just
that
have a
not
hemorrhage.
subjugate
I know. I
ourselves?
still know what it says.
I'm getting
I
an
don't know what else
aneurysm.
I know.
What else to tell
But
you?
does that not subjugate ourselves to regulations?
Purple, I have a
think you
question,
say that
Purple,
on
real
any
quick.
single thing in anything that's regulated that there's a law about. And
What-
frankly, I really like.
Correct.
I want to highlight what Purple had said, where she had said, you know, we can agree that it's a complex issue, and I heard, no, it's very simple. Do it this way. No, do it this way. And that's obviously the problem. We have, it's a democracy, and we have people that don't agree, and we can't come to a consensus very easily. And I think the more we dig in and say, it is simple, it has to be this way, and this is why. Maybe that's, I don't know. It doesn't help.
Well, that's why we have arguments.
Yeah, but I think we can concede with Purple and say, yes, I think it is it's just a difficult topic. People don't agree, and it will stay complex, and it's hard for our society.
Indeed, it will, but that also means that the arguments will continue. And
I hope. I hope.
whether they're civil or not is another thing.
Right,
But,
and let's make arguments that work.
Yeah, and my argument rests on that first sentence, well regulated, which means these things can be regulated.
Yeah. It's kind of lazy that we're not. Guys, I'm getting super tired. It's really late. I gotta
Yeah, it is.
sleep.
Let's all call it a day.
Okay.
Well, I don't know who's running the
Well,
show.
we're right at the top of the hour, so yeah.
Yeah.
And listen, for all of the sound and fury, I appreciate the back and forth.
I don't know,
Just-
Stephanie. You don't, no. No. I got threatened by 3 people today. You're like the third one. Well, you didn't threaten me, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I didn't threaten you. I don't think I
it
did.
wasn't your best day, Stephanie. Don't worry about it. I'll give you a chance.
Well,
next
I don't
time.
think I threatened you. I just basically said you must be fucking joking about automobiles and guns. But
No, absolutely. You can turn into a projectile. I mean, at least I come from the ghetto. I come from
let's-
projects.
no,
So like
get
I've
right
seen
back into
cars
the
being
same
used as
argument again.
weapons.
And that's a good point, is I kind of thought of that too. Like, what world are we living in? Like, it's easy for me to say, well, guns are for this when I live in my neighborhood.
Also, so the reason why I say all that is
I don't want
because
to rehash that particular argument. But
I'm just
it's a
saying that
question of design. That's all.
there's
No,
definitely some differences depending on where you're living. And yeah.
I mean, we just had someone over here, someone we know in the neighborhood that got stabbed, and that we saw his trail of blood, like up to the car when he like tried to run for help. And when I came down, I was like, "Yo, what was this? A gun?" They were like, "No, it was a knife." And the crazy thing is that everyone
Sure.
carries knives out here, so it's not really the guns
Sure.
you got to worry about. It's you got to worry about getting stabbed.
Sure,
And
absolutely.
and I've got
And-
enough
and-
things to worry about that they give me medication for the panic attacks. But I've got to still live my life. So even though I'm in public housing, I've got a fucking rainbow flag for a window curtain.
You're from New York City,
Huh?
Purple. You're in New York City.
I'm in St. Cloud, Minnesota.
They have how NYCHA up there.
There what?
You said you had NYCHA, right?
NYCHA.
No, I heard. I don't know if I heard housing or NYCHA because that's our
Yeah,
project
no.
over here.
Yeah, public housing.
Okay.
Basically, it's low-income housing that most of the people in this building have some kind of government subsidy, so they're not homeless.
Are they able to, like, are there any restrictions on guns or weapons and things like that to get?
Over here in the projects,
I have not seen anything about guns.
Okay.
And an odd thing is that even though our state has legalized marijuana, you can't have it in this building because the building is considered federal property.
Oh,
Indeed.
Oh, over here we're because I'm in federal housing as well, and they told us we're allowed to have weed, but we're not allowed to smoke it. And I mean, we have to go 25 feet from the building to smoke it.
Yeah, you probably have to go 25 feet from the building to smoke a butt, too.
Oh yeah, cigarettes too. Yeah, they have a smoking policy
Yeah,
now in these
Yeah,
subsidized
that-
apartments.
Yeah. See, they've
Mhm.
got that you can't smoke be smoking even cigarettes around any of the entrances.
Oh yeah, they've done away with that.
Because I know ours, I'm in public housing, we can have firearms, but we cannot openly carry them on the property.
Uh-huh.
I don't think we're allowed to have them over here because it's
I
like a
asked
no
them
gun
if, like,
sign.
if I could have shotguns or whatever in a gun safe in my apartment. They're like, yeah, you just can't openly carry on the property.
I'm more concerned about the fact that I'm restricted to not having more than 2 pets in here, and I've now got 3 cats. So
Yeah, well, there's a
Just keep it to
problem.
yourself. Just keep it to yourself. No one cares.
Your
No
cats,
one's gonna
they won't
snitch
tell
on you.
on you.
actually, I'm thinking as long as they don't see Ethan and Sammy's son in the same room, they'll think it's the same cat, and it'll go by.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, that's a big one. It's interesting. You have to give up a lot of your rights just to get in the right housing, huh?
Well, just to get housing I could afford to live in.
Yeah.
I'm living on a disability. So without the rent subsidy, I would be homeless.
It's 30% of your
Yeah.
income, right?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So I have to
Yeah.
put up with whatever rules they're going to give me for any building that will accept that program. I don't have any other choice where to go.
Yeah, and that's kind of the issue when we're talking about these things. It's a question of where our obligations lie, and forgive my passion. I do tend to get enervated from time to time. I'm not attacking anybody, and certainly not going after anybody with my car or my gun or my knife. I'm just basically making an argument that there are fundamental differences between all 3 of those things. Anything can be used as a weapon, and y'all are right that that the intent of the person wielding that thing is ultimately the deciding factor. But the intent of the design of each of those things is also something to bear in mind. That's my entire point.
Okay,
Take
so
it as-
then I got a question.
take
Then.
it as
So
you like.
was the argument started by so do you feel like Americans should own AR-15s? Or anything larger than, what is it, a 40? I don't want to say 50 caliber.
I think
45?
I think I personally think that that's something that's subject to regulation and is subject to regulation. For example, Americans aren't generally allowed to own thermonuclear devices for private use. It's that, like, just not.
Sorry, reading this.
And so obviously the line gets drawn somewhere, and the question is always, where does the line get drawn? If I think that there are places within jurisprudence to draw that line, and that line has been drawn. And I think that the issue is an emotional issue, not a logical one, not necessarily a rational one.
Well, that
And I think that we should have a rational discussion about the consequences of where the line gets drawn.
Okay, so if, I not that you've said this, but if I were to say, because
Okay, in a
you
second.
own guns, right? I think you mentioned that you own
I
a
have
firearm.
I
Okay,
have a firearm.
would you be willing to give it up if everyone gave up their firearms? Would you
Yes.
restrict? Okay,
So I have
so
kind of a. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
so what if? How sure are you that if, God forbid, if you were put in a situation and someone had a firearm but you gave up yours, but you know for a fact that the U.S. abolished the weapon, wouldn't you want to have it anyway on you? Don't you think you should just preserve your life over the idea of who shouldn't or should carry a gun? Because at the end of the day, you're responsible for your own life choices, right? So you want to live out the rest of your organic life. Most people would want to.
Yeah, but what if you're
Uh,
giving up your gun for decreasing your chances of being shot by another gun by 80 or 90%?
That's okay. So I
Isn't
could,
that a valid trade-off?
if I mean, can you cite anything that would suggest that's the actual percentage?
Well,
I,
no.
I
Okay, okay. Then I'm
I'm
not
saying
asking
anything
that
with
in a
specific
malicious way,
numbers.
though.
I'm just saying that if they made a real effort, to get guns back out of the hands of everyone.
I'll tell you what, if they were like, let's say hypothetically, if they did have actual numbers to support that, hey, this actually works, then that is a valid step we can take. Absolutely. I don't think we should shy away from something like that. But as far as I'm concerned, we're speaking hypothetical, so there's no actual citation, just to be clear, right?
right. And
Yeah,
yeah,
but
Fortune
somebody
thought
would have to be first,
you're right.
and no other country has the problem with guns that we have.
Would you just say that you should just only allow citizens to carry pistols and anything else after that they shouldn't? I mean, obviously silencers, AR-15s, should you just only restrict U.S. citizens, at least for self-defense, to only own a pistol type weapon? Or I don't know if we would call it like concealable, like a CCW.
Well, I think one sensible regulation is, that nobody needs to carry anything that has more than 5 or 6 bullets in it. Because if you can't hit your target after 5 or 6 shots, you don't really need to be carrying a gun. You don't know how to use it.
I never understood the magazine capacity argument because I could understand you. I mean,
Well,
I've seen people in Texas carry like a whole drum magazine on like a Glock, for example. So I could understand how that may seem a little bit like messed up.
Have
But
you
yeah,
guys shot
I'm
more
kind of with
Karachi?
I'm kind of with NJ in the chat here. It's like, if you reduce the amount of availability, then you reduce the number of deaths. And I think outcomes are more germane to the conversation than fundamental rights. I mean, it's just I'm kind of practical in a whole bunch of these things. It's like, well, what would be the ultimate outcome? Yeah, some people have guns no matter what because they're just going to be assholes. And which is why I answered yes without question to your question. It's like, yeah, I'd give up a firearm that fell outside the parameters of whatever regulation there was, because I think that overall my safety would be better off. That's all. I don't want to drift back into the argumentation as to what things are designed to do or not. I just know that I'm far less at risk from from an intruder driving an automobile into my house than I am from an intruder carrying a gun into my house. I know that. It's just a thing. So, you know, I'm cool with some form of regulation, and that includes regulation of me.
Okay, so I would concede, at least I'm willing to concede on the fact of going back to the AR argument. Sure, I can see how our argument could be made that Americans shouldn't own like long rifles specifically, and let's say, for example, we'd cap it down to a pistol-sized weapon. But
Well, now you're getting into the long rifle stuff, and how am I supposed to go deer hunting?
I mean, I'm pretty
You
sure
know,
there's an argument could be made
there are
though,
nuances here. You know,
but I seriously, the reason why I'm so hesitant on when it comes to gun rights is you have to also consider within the space that it's occurring, right? So obviously, one of the concerns are,
Right.
or when gun issues became a big concern, is when a lot of kids started doing school shootings, right? I think during 2020 there was a whole week of every day there was a school shooting. There was like a mass school shooting, right? That played
Well,
out
it's
for
been
months
pretty
at a
bad
time.
in 2024. You know, it's been bad this year too.
The media has just gotten bored with covering them. We don't go a
Yeah.
week in this country anymore without some kind of mass shooting.
I
Yes,
mean-
and then that's the problem. So I feel like in most of those cases, though, when it comes to these kids, it's usually a child that's like severely disturbed. Now,
I mean,
when we look at adults,
and it's been going on for a very long time. Back in 1991, Joni Mitchell wrote a song called "Sex Kills," and one of the lines in the song was "little kids packing guns to school," and it was in reference to, I think, Columbine happened right around then.
oh,
and
you're talking
it's
about
like-
Pumped Up Kicks. It was called Pumped Up Kicks. It was about Columbine. Yeah, he was singing about the kids how to run from the bullets.
Right, and I was referring to Joni Mitchell's song
Oh, I'm
because
sorry.
I'm more of an old folky chick than but Pumped Up Kicks was, yeah, that was same time, same idea, and it's just been escalating more and more and more, and you know, it's not. I don't really think it's the change in the culture that much, to be honest. I think it's the change in availability.
Okay, yeah.
And-
I wanted to check my numbers before I put this out there, but we're still running strong. That the case for the last several years has been that we've had more shootings than there have been days in the year.
Yeah.
So far
and-
this year in
and-
the US, there have been 261 mass shootings.
Yeah, but
And-
what
and
classifies it
when-
as a
and-
mass shooting, though?
A mass shooting is when 4 or more people have been shot in the same incident.
Yeah, but the problem is there's mass shootings that go on daily in Chicago, California.
Yeah, but the
To
California
me, a
counts
mass
probably
shooting
doesn't
is
more.
multiple
We should just
people
let them
being
keep
shot.
happening? Your argument is they're so common, we should let them keep happening?
No, I'm not saying we should let them keep happening, but I think statistically the numbers are flawed. I think they're much higher than what's being reported.
And so, what is the solution to that?
Wait, Purple. I'm sorry for cutting in real quick. Purple, I got a question. So then, how do you
Yeah, no
propose
worries.
dealing with the whole issue with, like, let's say, just using Chicago as the example? How do you propose we stop kids killing each other then? Because I don't think having extra programs or any of that hasn't slowed down, like, these teens killing each other over maybe a gang affiliation or a music genre. So at least, you know, and with that region, and then I could dare say the same thing could be said for like certain parts of Houston. Like, how do you propose stopping them from killing each other?
Well, like we said,
I think that's what a lot of mayors and politicians are trying to figure out. How do we stop a lot of this with these kids?
I feel like it's an
I-
accountability issue. I think the deterrence is a hefty sentence. I understand the
My-
argument that it, you know, like young kids could be adversely affected. Yeah, but you still took a life. If you took more than one life, you shouldn't be let out of prison.
My solution is restrict access to guns, but we
They
can,
still got access on 3D guns though. 3D printed guns are still a thing.
It's
Yeah.
getting harder and harder to get the blueprints.
I mean, I'm pretty sure the regular blueprints are like you could just get a Glock slide and just bam shimmy, you're good. Like
oh,
not to say
Fieldgate.
too much, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of
Still
people
Yeah,
that do it
enjoy
over
it.
here.
GitHub and that they're starting to track all the 3D printed guns and stopping the transfers of them.
In Texas, it's legal over, right?
I still enjoy hunting because I do like venison. If I ever get a deer again, which may be a while, but
Because I know they didn't they. I don't know if they've ever changed the regulations on the polymer 80s, where you used to be able to buy 80% lowers that you had to mill out yourself. I know they banned them for a while, but I thought there was a court case where they're saying, hey, that's unconstitutional because they're not firearms.
well, Pragmatic points out over 40% of all firearm deaths are homicides. Just, look, people are idiots. The way it goes.
I would concede, yeah, maybe sure, less. I mean, if anything, I think anyone can make an oral argument on New York City, considering that it has some of the lowest gun deaths. It's just it's differently displayed on the media here, so it leads you to believe there's a lot of people getting shot. But then you compare it to like numbers in Houston, and Houston is just over the roof. So maybe the issue is that there is too many guns, but how do you do that without infringing on people's rights?
Well, that's the whole thing, and that's the nature of the whole uh, of what are the rights, and the rights were changed in what was that? It begins with an H. The opinion that Scalia wrote.
I know rifles is what,
Whatever.
16 or 18, and then handguns are 21. But a few states have dropped it down to 18 for handguns.
Was it Hiller? I think it was. No, it's the Heller.
Heller, yeah, Heller.
Yeah, it was the Heller decision, and it was the first time in American history that an individual right was asserted by the Supreme Court. And of course, that's it's like we're interpreting the Constitution, we're interpreting the stuff. It's what I was getting exercised about earlier on, but it's like. These are discussions. It's an ongoing discussion as to
But the Bruin decision just made it worse.
Yeah, and I just think that the well-regulated part often gets of the Second Amendment is something that often gets ignored. By just with those rules, well regulated means regulation is possible. And in my opinion, the regulation since Heller has been less than adequate.
Yeah, but Bruin's going to make that harder now because they can only go between like 1791 to 1849 or something in that one, and look at the historical data from there to make any gun control laws to see if the constitutionality.
Did Salt fall asleep? She was trying to wrap this up about half an hour ago.
Oh.
Yeah, anyway, it's been
I'm
fun.
I'm not sure if we have a moderator anymore.
No, I'm not sure we do, but it's been fun, and don't get too pissed off. It's all good. It's been a good talk. And
well, and I think that we had a lot of good discussion on a bunch of different topics. It doesn't mean that we have to agree on every topic.
Of course not. And clearly we don't, which is fine.
Oh no, I don't agree with Nona. Yeah, I think we should do something to solve the problem, but I think Pandora's box has been open, and
Yep.
you know, hey,
Yeah.
that's gonna be tough.
And which is why we need to have these discussions, I think. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like,
Well, I
let's
don't want to
focus-
get back
fo-
into it, because I think we should all be
Yeah.
getting some sleep by now.
I think so. Good suggestion.
Okay. So good night, all.
everybody.
All
You
right.
guys have a good night. Are you still there, KS?
Huh?
Oh, you're still there. What was the whole argument on the AR-15?
Talking about banning the AR-15 platform because it kills people. So do automobiles. And then we got into the whole design about guns and automobiles.
I think it's
I mean, it comes down to intent. Yes, guns were never. I mean, this is my opinion. They were never created to do mass shootings and mass killings. They were created as a survival tool for hunting. Same with automobiles. But in the beginning, they still killed people.
I'll come back on and talk to you guys. I have seizures and I just takes a minute. Yeah, that was interesting.
But it all comes down to intent. I mean, people went by automobiles because they couldn't get a firearm and they wanted to kill a bunch of people. So they went out a $500 car and went and ran them over.
I think a lot of it has to do with
It's
the
all
psychology
about
behind
intent.
humans. Yeah, I just think that we have to. I'm not saying don't address the tool, but we have to also address who's piloting that weapon at the end of the day. Because at the end of the
Yeah.
day, the weapon does one thing, sure, but how did that human get to the point where they're at, where they're about to take a life? I think that needs to be. I think that's literally the red flag in a situation.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can put a 1911 on my bed and tell them, hey, go to the mall and kill a bunch of people. That gun's not going to waltz up off my bed. Go 35 miles to the closest mall and start shooting people. I'd have to physically pick that gun up and do it myself.
That I've heard that oral argument before.
It's like with anything that's ever been used in murders and stuff. It's the person that uses said tool. It's their mindset to use that. Stuff was never designed for it, but people used it.
It's like saying you can kill someone with your hands, you can strangle someone to death. You can't outlaw hands. People are gonna do what they're gonna do.
Oh, same thing. Yeah, boxers have to register their hands. Yeah, they're
Right.
still lethal weapons apparently.
Yeah, it's so silly.
I actually looked that up. The United States does not have any laws about that.
I think in New York, that's where that. I don't know, but I've heard in New York City, I've seen a form that because over here in Golden Gloves, they have this thing where they just tell you back in the day you would have to register them, and the whole thing started with if you were to defend yourself, it would be considered unlawful force because you're trained, they're not. So you could literally get in trouble for like defending yourself because your hands are registered.
Oh my gosh.
I've heard that since a dawn of time over here from a lot of like.
I mean, I've heard of it too, but and then I started Googling it, and it's like no state really has any laws on that.
Well,
They
because I
take it
did
into
martial arts,
account with intent if you kill somebody, your qualifications, but there's
yeah,
like
but because I've been trained in martial arts, would that make me more lethal? Or let's say that I was convicted of something like child abuse. Would my spanking be worse than another parent's spanking? Or
because if I
mean-
remember right, isn't martial arts the art of defense, not the art of attack?
right? Absolutely. Well, I don't know. I learned how
mean-
to attack.
I mean, nah, but it could be implied that there's certain martial arts that are more prone to being aggressive, like they're meant to be used offensively. You could say like Muay Thai is not meant to be used defensively. That's a purely
it's all
striking art.
it's all about intent, right?
Yeah, like it's not a defensive like style. It's literally you have to punch with you have to kick, punch, knee,
Yeah.
elbow, like knee, like headbutts.
Because like as a woman, so as a woman, I would have no qualms about playing dirty
Well,
Right?
it's sad over here because
someone can
when
overpower me. It's fine if I need to pinch their scrotum and to get him off of me, I'm going to do that, or a throat punch and boom, lay him out quicker because I probably won't get a lot of punches in. I don't know.
I think it also depends on the type of martial art, because I think most martial arts are, you only use it for to protect yourself. You don't use it to go attack people.
It depends on the person using it, though.
Yeah.
That's all I mean. It's
Plus, I think it also depends on like your sensei and all that, what
yeah,
what they teach you.
It depends on what that person chooses to do. Like, I think there's this idea that if we just educate people or we just restrict things, that will prevent violence, and that's just not true. I mean, that's why, that argument of intent works. It doesn't matter what you use as a weapon. If it's used as a weapon, then it's aggravated assault. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, either aggravated assault or it puts an enhancement on the charge for
Yeah.
aggravated murder is higher than murder.
Did you guys see that little comment come up where they were killing people with stones? I read something about that before. It's a book I read over. Isn't that in the Bible? Holy shit. People
Oh,
killed
yeah,
each
the
other
Middle
and there
East,
weren't
yeah.
even guns. Wow.
you could just use stones.
Just use stones. That's right. If we take all the guns away, we will have no violence.
Yeah, but they
We'll
can still
still have
kill us with
violence.
stones.
I know we will. I'm being silly.
It's built in our DNA to be violent. It's just we have to choose to curb ourselves from being violent.
Yeah, every time, huh?
Just give every American a samurai sword and just stick it back during like honorable duels. That way, there's no casualties. If people want to be violent, they could be like very honorable about it.
I think I'll just stay at home.
Like, I don't think you want to come out. Like, Charles might challenge you, Eric.
Because how can you regulate free will?
I hope you can't.
Because I mean, that's another argument that could be made with trying to regulate stuff.
Yeah, that's where all of this kind of goes, huh? And
Yeah, it all goes down to people have free will. It's by people's choice to do this stuff.
it's really enticing to think that you can have that level of control, especially if you've been victimized, but I just think that is a complete fantasy. And really, you might be able to control people, but you can't really control free will. I guess they will still desire those things, but we're preventing it. I don't know. It really becomes a theological or philosophical argument, I think, at that point.
Yeah.
These
Instead
kids
of like,
got rocket launchers, though. I mean, what about that? You got kids out here owning literally military-grade rocket launchers.
can we
That's
send
what I'm
those people
saying.
to fight
I'm
Russia?
wondering. I know. I've seen
Let's send
YouTube
all those
videos, TikTok
things.
videos of these kids having this, and it's like, where the hell are you getting rocket launchers?
You got an RPG running after someone. I'm like, yo, you're too close to use that. Like,
Where
what
was
are you
that at?
thinking? Chicago, Texas, Houston, like they have them everywhere. You
Yeah,
just need you need to purchase a stamp or something is what they call. I think they call it.
pretty
and then
much.
that
You have
allows
to have a Class 3 license.
Right.
You can own fully automatic weapons in the United States. You have to go pass the background with the ATF, get a Class 3 license, pay the tax stamp, which is most people aren't going to have the money to do because it's like $1 million per weapon you want. But the ATF can come in unannounced to you, knock on your door, and want to check all your guns without a warrant. You pretty
Yeah, I've
much
seen that.
surrender your Fourth Amendment rights to them.
That's kind of scary when they knock on a door like that, because it's like, yo, why are you coming just to see if I have something? Like, what's the issue? Like, I paid my dues.
They're not going
Why?
to do it unless they have a reason or a suspicion, and then you just kind of start. That's where your freedoms go. They just kind of start.
Yeah, like with a class 3 license, they can do it. Do they do it? I don't know. But I've heard of people who've had class 3, and the ATF would come in once a month to make sure they still had those weapons.
Maybe
and
with
didn't
the
sell 'em.
Facebook post. Could be one bad Facebook post, right? Could be at your door.
Yeah.
Oh, what if one of these kids show up at your door with a rocket launcher?
Or some,
Uh,
because there's a guy named Dragon Man out in Colorado, right?
Was that famous gun armor that he had all these like collection of weapons? He has like the huge, like, it's not merely a museum, but it's like he has a huge collection of every gun in existence.
Oh, he has every guns. He has tanks you can shoot.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, I heard he
Yeah,
went through
Dragon
Oh.
Man. He was out by like Ellicott, Colorado, is where his range is. Yeah, he has a class 3 and everything. Say convicted felon, that ain't supposed to be out there. Post they're out there. The ATF can show up and talk to him and shut him down for it.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
he has
have
a
a
lot of
real-
merchandise. I've seen the video of like the walkthrough.
Mm.
He has everything. I'm like, yo,
How's he get the money for that? Like,
I
you could
want to
put-
know the same
like,
thing.
that's-
I want
If
to
I
do what
had a
he's
lot of
doing.
money, I'd get my own. Well, I guess people really do that, but
I think he even
Really?
has an M1
priorities.
Abram tank.
He has
I
an
believe
Abram
so.
tank.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Oh,
has
how
a tank you
many
can shoot. You can legally shoot out there. But you're paying almost like 10 grand a round.
How does he get that kind of money? That's criminal.
Where can I buy one?
Yeah, where can I get
That's
the
a
money to
seriously
earn so I
question.
could buy one?
Hey, yo, where can I buy that tank? Like, if they
Oh, he
have it,
bought
I
it from
should have one
he
too.
bought it from the government for like 5 grand.
Because I
with
think
an
you
old
buy
M1
they
tank
sell
they
the
were
F,
getting rid of.
I think they sell the F-14 jet, but they remove all the military instruments on it, and they'll sell it bare bones, like functional. You just have to drive the jet back to your hangar.
You can buy it at a place like you can buy stuff like that at Smith and Edwards here in Utah. I don't know if it's really functional, but they have all kinds of weird equipment like that.
Yeah, because there's
Yeah,
a guy that makes his living driving them from state to state, because I guess that's the required maintenance on it to have it keep running. And I've seen the Phantom and I've seen the F-14 so far,
Yeah.
privately owned.
Yeah, like a lot of the tanks down the barrel, they'll drill the barrel and put rebar down the barrel so you can't actually fire the barrel. But somehow he managed to allow the government to not do that to this tank and got the license to do it.
It's okay. People are also building their own rocket ships.
Wait, what does he do for a living though that he's able to afford all this?
Oh, Dragon Man. One, he runs the gun range. I think he does a lot of like stocks and owns a lot of other businesses. I don't know what he actually does for work. I know he runs a gun range year round.
Because that
Oh,
collection he
guys.
has is worth millions, if I'm not mistaken. Especially all the old antique shit you can't get no more. I'm pretty
There's
sure
this
he has like
place that
original
we-
1911s. Oh, excuse me.
I mean, it costs a lot of money to go out to his gun range.
I want to ask you guys about this. Speaking of gun ranges, so there's a place that my family go out and shoot that's out in the country, and it's actually kind of fun. But someone is trying to build a shooting range there now. It's like it's already a shooting range. It sounds like someone just wants to come and buy the land and charge people a lot of money for what they're already doing.
Yeah.
You didn't hear about the someone reminded me of this. It was the state that's planning to demolish like a whole poor neighborhood of apartments. They're trying to kick them out so they could build like a little police city where they trained for like
Oh, you talking about down there in Atlanta?
I don't know if it's in Atlanta because I
I
didn't
know there was
recall, but
something in
something
Atlanta
like
where
that.
they were doing that, plus the
Yeah.
woods, and a bunch of people were protesting and chaining themselves to trees because it was going to be FBI, local cops, ATF, and allowing
Yeah.
other agencies from across the U.S. to come, like a
Those
federal
agencies are probably
facility.
gonna pay a lot of money to do it. Yeah, did that ever happen?
I don't know.
I think they're still in the process of like trying to like implement it though, but it's kind of odd that they would set up a training facility like in a poor neighborhood. And a huge one at that, because I think this might be a different one, but I don't know if it's in Atlanta though. They just reminded me of it, and there's the last I've heard, they were still going through the legal swings of people protesting, not wanting it to happen. But the other half of the argument is, why do you need to develop like a miniature city, and what kind of training would you be doing that you need this much space?
Urban training for urban combat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because yeah, I
it
know
would
they do that
only
in Los Angeles. Have you ever seen the videos of the Blackhawks landing on rooftops randomly? And there's a bunch of them. Like they did that in Los Angeles, but I don't think we've ever seen that in any other state.
Oh, they did it out at Fort Carson. Built a city that represented like Iraq and Afghanistan to train in.
when you're talking about using different forces and trying to coordinate those forces, that's a lot. You'd need a big area for some of those.
Yeah, because it's also gonna be for like firefighters too, and first responders, emergency management. It's like,
Yeah, I
Oh,
could
that's
see it needing to
understandable.
be a city.
Yeah, I can understand that though. If it incorporates all emergency services, then yeah, I can see a reason to have it.
yeah,
Or were they
they
gonna-
want like a national training center where like all these departments can come do this stuff, because a lot of places can't even build training facilities.
be nice to have some of that nationalized too
You know,
for different states so they operate the same.
oh, I think that's what's going on, because a lot of law enforcement agencies are going encrypted on the 800 system to where it can all be interoperable. So pretty much, because the frequencies are all the same.
Hmm.
It's just you have different hexes, and it changes the channel. So running 256 ASE on it, encryption, which changes that channel 256 times per second.
Wow.
The feds, I know the feds are already on there, because I've looked at like a lot of the interoperable stuff, and it's like all the channels are pretty much the same. It's just these agencies can go to these interop channels and talk on the radios.
That would be very much needed. I mean, for terrorist attacks or national emergencies.
Yeah. But I hate the 800 system though, because it's all digital. You can shut that system down real easy. You cut the internet, that system's done. Then they're going to have to go back to simplex channels, which were pretty much open. That and the encryption on the simplex channels is a lot easier to break.
So I don't know what that means, but what would happen if our electrical grid was knocked out? In those terms, what would happen?
Well, this country would cease to exist if they can't get the power back on. Within 2 weeks, all the food in the grocery stores would be rotten. It would probably end up, I don't know how long like water treatment facilities could run off of the generator system.
I
So
heard
do
an
you think
argument
that-
towards that though, by the way, KS. There's an argument towards that. There's a scientific argument that was made that what you would need to do is that you would have to set up a system that would then just turn everything off. As long as there's no running current, an EMP should not have an effect on electronics. and they're disconnected from their source of power.
Because
So
I
you-
didn't think it was really encouraging when Neil deGrasse Tyson went on Good Morning America to calm everyone down. The Russians will not hurt anyone. I'm like, it doesn't
I
sound
mean,
that
with
way.
everything being so computerized now, I mean, it's not hard to probably shut everything down to where somebody has control and changes all that.
But interoperability, how is that going to work if there's an attack and something like that happens and you're
Because,
talking about
okay, like
these?
the digital radio system is
Mhm.
ran through repeaters.
Okay.
A lot of those repeaters have battery backup. At the same time, if the internet goes down to that system, that signal's not getting out at all because it's digitally. They would have to either go to simplex, where you're going to have somebody every couple hundred feet repeating that signal back to someone.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know how any of that works.
Because I can talk to somebody roughly couple 2.5, 3 miles on simplex on ham. And I can hear them. But like the repeater systems, I can talk to somebody from where I'm at and they can be 60, 80 miles away. So it takes my signal, goes into the repeater, boosts that signal to where they can hear it. But if those repeaters go down, that signal's not being boosted. And the digital ran by the internet.
If I think about it as like front lines, right? We're talking about World War II. We're talking about a simplex system where you'd need someone every.
They would end up probably going back to the HF system, the high frequency.
Does that give you more range than the simplex?
The HF, depending on conditions. I know people that get on a 10 meter over here and they can talk to somebody clear over in London
Oh yeah, I've heard about that.
on HF.
There's a
So
guy
you're-
that does that over here.
Like you're talking 4,000 or 5,000 miles away on that signal.
Wow.
But it depends on the solar output. Is it raining? Is it hailing? Is there snow? Because that can interfere with transmissions.
So would that still be available if our infrastructure's knocked out temporarily?
Oh yeah, shortwave radio and HF radio will always work as long as the equipment ain't fried and they have a way to power it.
Typically, if the thing's running juice and like let's say you get an EMP hit, what ends up happening is that the individual parts will tend to fuse in with each other, sort of thing.
Yeah,
So you'll
'cause
have a
that's
lot
a-
of welding.
Miniature digital repeater that I use to play on DMR. Same concept with what the cops are using in their cars, but a little bit bigger and a little more powerful.
Wait, what do you use those for?
I get on
Specifically.
Brandmeister or TGIF network and talk to people all over the world digitally.
Wow.
I'm gonna have to get
But
one.
if the internet goes down, the signal don't go out. It relies on internet signal to take the radio transmissions and run it through the internet lines.
Did you hear about the internet cables being cut? I think it was between.
Yeah, it was Russia.
Yeah, that was pretty weird in the Baltics.
I think that was payback for what we did. Well, I don't know if the U.S. did it, but when we blew up their gas line, it
Yeah,
had
they're
to be the
saying
U.S.
Ukraine did it.
No, I think that was the U.S. I definitely think that was the U.S. that did that. Ukraine doesn't have a submarine for that.
I mean, I've
Well-
talked to people all the way in Australia from Kentucky.
Which is so great. Huh? Sometimes you have to go far to make friends, I guess.
I wanted to go to CB radio so I could troll the truckers.
So one of you sounds like you've been to Chicago.
Who?
Mom, not me. I have friends from Chicago. It's horrible.
My son lives out in Mundelein. And so I went out to visit him, and I just got whatever flight. So it wasn't the nice airport. And my new daughter-in-law was taking me back to fly home. And she was just so scared the whole time, like, we shouldn't be in this neighborhood. We shouldn't. I was like, come on, forget it. You're
You don't understand. If you
No, I
drive
didn't
somewhere,
understand.
if you drive somewhere and like these guys see you from far away, and let's say the car's at an angle where you can't see inside, they can mistake in your car, you're making model for someone else's, and they can just start shooting at your car, thinking
Yeah,
that you're just someone encroaching on their territory.
Yeah, it is so crazy. It is so, like, things like that just don't even occur to me, I guess. Just, I live in a different area, and it's never felt like Chicago, and I just was like, no, it can't be that bad.
Oh, wait, what state are you in now?
I'm in Utah.
It sounds like Utah's wait, is there a lot of crime in Utah?
It totally depends on where you're at. And sometimes I think the crime is played up a lot. For example, okay, there's different areas in Salt Lake, and my brother was moving up to the area, and he's like, oh, I don't want to live in that area in Rose Park. I'm like, why not? You're close to the airport. You don't have traffic you would in this other area. I'm like, people talk about gangs, but really what you need to know is people speak a lot of Spanish. You're going to have a lot more mom and pop stores. You're going to be able to buy a lot of different Spanish food. And, my brother had gone on an LDS mission to Spain, to Bilbao, and his wife was from Colombia. So I'm like, you'll be fine. And they love it.
Yeah, I mean, Utah has gangs, but they pretty much, as long as you don't do anything to tick them off, they usually stay to themselves and stay hidden, trying to stay off the radar of the cops.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've been out in Utah.
And, I've worked with law enforcement. Here's something that's really weird, talking about guns and these kind of things. So if someone does have a charge against them and they're not able to carry a gun, like, I've worked with a couple of guys, and some of them have even tried to pick up on me before and will try to run their mouth or look cool or whatever. And they're like, we busted this guy and we got him for 30 years. I'm like, how'd you get him for 30 years? What did he do? Well, he had a handgun, and then he had these rounds, and every single round is a year. I'm like, oh my gosh, can you imagine? Just like if you had 5 bullets in that gun compared to if you had another magazine on you, that could be another 20 years.
Yeah, if they were smart, they would send it over to the federal, because every ammunition in the federal side is 5 years.
God, geez. See, that just
besides the 20 for the possession of the firearm. You could pick a life sentence up as a convicted felon if they decide to use 922G. Yeah.
Wow. It's so crazy to me.
I don't understand the restrictions on magazines, because I think if you were to ask or look at people that have defended themselves with firearms, they'll tell you that they need as many magazines as they can carry. And it's not about being able to aim correctly, because when you have your adrenaline pumping, and you're aiming, you're not necessarily sometimes you're gonna be your aim is not gonna be that great. Especially if he has a gun, you have a gun, he's shooting, you're not gonna stay in the middle and start shooting. You're gonna move. So it's the dynamics of it changes. So that when they present,
get it in one shot or in 5, you should not have a weapon.
No, so then when they made the argument about having a maximum capacity of 5 rounds, I'm like, yo, that's 5 bullets. You have less bullets than a 6-shooter. You have less bullets than a 6-shooter.
I mean, you have revolvers that are 5 and revolvers that are 6. But the problem is, most of your revolvers are either 38, 32, 25, 44, 45, and that's it. And
yeah, but if you had a revolver on you, there's a chance that you're gonna miss all 6 to 5 shots.
Yeah,
and it might, because it could just simply come off of someone pulls a gun at you, you pull yours, and just the fright of having a gun pointed at you, and you're anxiously trying to get to your weapon and then pointing it. you're gonna be shaky. You're going
That's
to
why
be
I was
shaky.
asking, like, where are you shooting at? Like, is it at a gun range where you're sitting there and you have all the time in the world to point at a target, or is it out where there's wind, or are you hitting
Yeah,
something that's
because
shaking
like
in the
most
wind?
revolvers, they're mainly for where they're with less than 5 feet in front of you, where you're just pulling them, going boom, 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 boom into them. At distance, they're not worth shit.
I heard
Yeah.
the 38 specials are accurate on the first round, though. That's what
You
I heard.
can't
I
do
heard
it
on your first shot,
try.
you
You
could
can't have
get
a
someone
gun.
on a. I mean, then again, maybe the person was talking shit, but they were like, your first
Yeah,
round
maybe if
usually.
they were training and constantly training,
I
and
had to give up a
and they
45
weren't
because I couldn't aim or
sugar
shit
jerking.
with it. It was too strong.
Yo, 45
I tried
looks
a lot with that
huge.
45. I
I've
don't
seen a
know.
Glock between a 45, and I'm like, yo, I mean, the Glock is so small compared to like a 45. Then when I heard how those sound at a gun range, I was like, yo, whoever gets hit by that, they're not getting back up.
No.
Yeah, I mean,
You
I
get hit in the
prefer,
chest, you're not getting back up.
me personally, I prefer 45 or 40 cal.
Yeah, but I heard some states outlawed. I don't know if it's outlawed, but I heard there was another argument made that they should ban rip rounds.
What's that?
Like rip rounds is like I'm pretty
Rest
sure
in
it's
peace
armor
rounds.
penetrator.
They fucking shatter when
hollow
they hit
point?
you.
Yeah, they're meant to kill you. I've heard. I heard
The
if you want
hollow
to
Yeah.
kill
point, right?
someone, no, not a
They're
hollow point.
shrapnel
It's
rounds.
called a rip round.
Okay.
They do something similar, but it's just yeah.
Oh, you
it's
talking
once they
hollow
enter-
point?
No,
I don't know.
rip.
That's last one.
The rip round.
Yeah.
Rip rounds still. You can still get rip rounds at 9mm. You can still get hollow points at 9mm. But I've heard
Yeah.
that rip rounds are just for like killing your target. Like if you hit someone with that,
Yeah.
you're going after
It
killing.
enters, and then what it does is when it starts bouncing, the round explodes, and now you have 5 or 6 pieces of shrapnel going through you like a 22.
That's why I was told that you don't want to use. I had a friend tell me, for self-defense, you don't want to use a round that remains intact when it penetrates, because if it happens to exit, you can still hit someone behind that person. That's not the intended target. So it would be a preference to use something that is able to fragmentize once you hit the target. The problem is that the downside is you're increasing your lethality, which I don't. But then the argument's always made, you should be able to defend yourself, but now they're saying you shouldn't be able to use certain rounds. But then the argument's also made on the offense.
Yeah, but the most deadly round, okay.
So you
One
guys were
round I would
fighting-
never want to be shot with is 22,
Tell me why.
because 22, once it enters the
Small.
body and hits a bone, becomes shrapnel. It will explode, and most of the time it won't go through. 22 is the most
Oh.
deadliest round. Unlike 9, 40, and 45, usually they go clear through, unless you have hollow point or something that's shrapnels.
Yeah.
But the 22 is the most deadly round, because if it hits a piece of bone, it can start tearing your insides up. And by the time they think, oh, you've been shot, by the time they realize you're bleeding from 15 other places inside your body, you're dead.
I didn't know that about 22s.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know much about guns or rounds.
Yeah, lead core 22, it'll shrapnel off the bone.
Hmm.
That's also part of
Becomes
like the
jagged.
whole. That's a part of the whole crime statistics. The other thing is that I think there's probably a lot more people who've gotten shot have been like codified, only because the medicine's gotten great where a lot of gunshot victims and people that get stabbed up get the right proper care. So we're potentially saving more lives in our era from gunshot wounds as opposed to like the 1980s.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are surviving getting shot nowadays, but it doesn't. I mean, now I think the problem now is not so much of guns; it's so much like, for example, you got kids now with like a Glock switch on it, and then now it becomes a fully automatic weapon. You just slap a magazine with 100 rounds on it, and now you have like a miniature machine gun.
Yeah, I can do that with an AK and a MAC-10, all with a paper clip. There's a paper
Oh
clip.
yeah, I heard.
Yeah, certain models.
Paper clips were not made for that.
I know, but you can. There's
No, I'm
certain models.
making.
I'm not going to say
No,
which models of
I'm
them.
circling back around to be like, oh, that was silly.
But yeah, there's certain models of them that you jab a paper clip in there. Eventually, it's going to eat up the paper clip, and you got to keep doing it if you want to keep it doing it. But yeah, you can do it with a paper clip, and it's scary.
Yeah, you can make a lot of things lethal pretty quick, huh?
I think the next argument is, should we be allowed to own fully automatic weapons?
Only if you're a bad shot.
I mean, we might as well at this point. I mean, you want to give us 5 rounds? Give us a fully automatic. It'll be the shortest burst you'll ever hear.
I think we should be able to own anything the military owns, anything the government owns. We should be able to own.
I don't know. They made an argument about nuclear weapons. I don't think you're gonna get away from that. You know how
Okay,
many people
nuclear
go
weapons
off
are
in the
missiles.
neighborhood?
We're talking firearms here.
Fair enough,
All
but I
different.
mean, if they use a helicopter, wouldn't you need a missile? Because it's comparable to,
No, I just need a 50 BMG.
I don't know. I don't think I would shoot at a helicopter, an attack helicopter with a 50 BMG. I know it would do some damage, but I'd feel a lot better if I could blow it up. That's the whole
You
allure to it,
could. All you got to do with a 50 BMG, if you're good enough, is hit one of the missiles on the damn helicopter. Bye-bye, helicopter.
They said ATF is in the chat, and I have to tell you that my initials are ATF. So there you go. I'm already here. That's a joke, but my initials really are ATF. Yeah. So I'm punking whoever's chatting.
What do you think about the age draft, KS? The drafting age that they supposedly increased it to 65.
Oh,
see no
you mean
proof
the
of it,
Build
though.
Back Better Act, where they snuck now 18 to 65 can be drafted. Plus, they also put in there
Drafted
that
for
disabled
war?
people
For
are going
war,
to be put
yeah.
on the front lines as human shields.
At up to 65
I don't know that it
years
said
old.
human shields. Did it?
We all know if you're going to put the disabled people on the front lines, that's exactly what they're using it for. It's common sense.
I don't know how to make that stop. I mean, it's happening in Ukraine and Russia. Maybe I don't know if it's in preparation for thinking we're going to be in this war. But yeah, that's been happening for a long time. Why would they change the draft to say they could up to 65 years old? In the U.S., we're talking, right?
I don't
Yeah,
think
the
it's
United
gonna
States.
fly, though.
They snuck it in the Build Back Better Act that now the draft age is 18 to 65. And then
Someone in the government explain how that's building back anything better.
I don't know either. They gave a bunch of money to people to do improvements. After that passed, we got like $52 million. And they wanted to build a bypass that bypassed the bypass. Pretty much they wanted to do another truck route that bypassed the whole damn town.
Wow.
And the people of the city said, no. You do that, you're going to kill the city.
Did it work? Did they get what they wanted?
Oh, they finally dropped that. It was like, yeah, no, we're not going to do this. So now they're trying to widen some roads, and it's like, oh my God, the people can't drive the way you have it set up now. Now you want to make it 6 lanes.
Wow.
When the
Wait,
fire
did they-
department's out there already 15, 20 times a day for car accidents. So yeah, let's make it 6 lanes. It's like you might as well build another fire station right off on both sides of the road.
So you
Then
just want to expand the same highway?
yeah, because right now it's 4 lanes, 2 going south, 2 going north. Now they want to make it 3 on each side with no median and no turn lane.
Does not sound like a good plan at all. Someone needs to be fired.
Well, no, I think it's kind of odd that you mentioned that because originally U.S. highways were designed to transport military vehicles. So in case the U.S. got invaded, the roads, those highways served as like, a route to get to whatever destination you need to get to. So that's why it's like the highways looked the way they did. So I'm assuming if they're gonna increase it by one lane, I'm now not to sound too conspiratorial, but it almost sounds like, hey, maybe we need a little bit more space because this might happen, and we're probably gonna need more clearance to pass these vehicles through there.
Yeah, but where they're widening it is coming off of a bridge, which is already a pain in the half to get through.
They did a lot of infrastructure work here in Utah when we had the Winter Olympics, and it was kind of hell. And then it's taken decades to get, now we have a transit system and we have other highways, but it just takes so long. Yeah, just expansion is the easiest thing. When they expanded the freeways so big, like 6 lanes like that in both directions during
Oh
that
yeah,
time.
especially down like in American Fork, and they're building the bridges in the middle of the highway.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, they'll build the whole entire bridge in the middle of the highway. Shut the highway down, move the bridge in place.
Yeah, I can navigate the spaghetti bowl pretty well by now. But it is pretty crazy. We got the Olympics back, I guess. The 34, whenever it's going to be.
I'm wondering if they're still going to use the stuff up on Strawberry Hill, the ski slopes. Like if you're going out to Strawberry Lake.
Yeah. You mean, yeah. Like if you're going, you mean through Park
Going
City?
through the Provo Canyon out towards Strawberry Lake.
Mm-hmm. I would hope so. They're
Yeah.
probably going to even use the Olympic Oval in West Valley City, and no one wants to be there. Yeah, but it's kind of a fun place.
Yeah.
So you're out in Texas.
Yeah.
I've been there a little bit. I got to go to Austin when I drove through it, and then I went to El Paso for a drug court conference. Felt like it was months, but it was just a few days.
I miss Utah. The only thing I hate about Utah is winter. When both sets of mountains have snow on it and there's snow everywhere, you lose sense of direction.
You can't lose sense of direction here, but I mean, because you have mountains, it's easy to understand where north and south is. But
Yeah, but when you have snow that's through that whole like Salt Lake Valley on the mountains too, and it's like,
so
is that
cool.
east or is that west? It's like I have to look for Timpanogos Peak because I know that's east.
Mm-hmm. I really like the snow. It's not my favorite to drive in, of course, but I think it's beautiful. And I'm not really a skier, but also just having the mountains around. It's a different kind of beauty. I mean, when I was in Texas, we went to a nice steakhouse, and it's like, look at this great sunset. And the sun just kind of slowly drips, past the horizon. You're like, okay.
Yeah,
It's different kind of beauty everywhere.
that and then the road system. It's like 600 east, 500 west, or north.
Oh, in Texas or here?
Utah,
Oh,
it's all numbered. It's like
yeah.
most places. Oh, I'm on the corner of Maple and Oak.
Yeah, that's one thing the Mormons did well is they set up a grid system. It kind
Yeah.
of makes sense to build it that way.
Yeah, I mean it makes it a little easier to find places, but
Yeah.
when you first get there trying to figure out where to go, it's like, okay.
Yeah, I don't know anywhere else. So, do you know my family, my mom's family is on, do you know where Utah Lake is or Provo or any of Utah?
Provo, Arm, all that, American Fork, yeah.
So I was from Payson, but my family was in Genola. They don't even have a stoplight there or a 7-Eleven or anything. still. It's just at the south end of Utah Lake. It's beautiful, but anyway, those are not the crazy people, the gun carrying, cowboyish type, more people, very rural, very decent people. But gives me some perspective. When I had to go out in the real world, it was a shock. So I like the discussion on guns. I thought that was really helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I miss Utah.
Did you
It's
live
like
up
laid back up there.
sometimes?
Yeah.
I haven't been a lot of other places, so not so sure. I like the mountains. I like the Canyonlands. I don't think I could. The beach would be nice, but I will give up beaches for mountains any day. And
Technically,
really,
there is a beach in Utah.
there is some beach. It's not
Yeah,
really.
the Great Salt Lake.
Yeah, not a beach.
It probably was millions and millions and millions of years ago.
Yeah, not a beach. Plus, I mean, you just don't want to be around that. You just have it at reservoirs, but there's something to be said of snow. Like, I've hiked in snow and got to the top of mountains and just stood there and watched the storm from at the top of the mountain. There's nothing better than that. That's pretty cool. Hiking in the snow is pretty awesome.
Yeah. The only thing I wish I would have done while I was out there in Utah was go to the Sundance Festival up there in Park City.
Why?
I like films.
Yeah. Yeah, if you have the money to do it, it would be great. Like, Park City's a lot of fun. Yeah, if you have money to be in that niche, it'd be great, but I never would have the money to do that.
Yeah. I don't either. And it's like,
Yeah.
but I wish I did. I wouldn't
they
mind
have
them
good stuff.
running into some actors up there and get their autographs and talk to them.
Yeah, Park City's fun. But I don't know. I haven't gone up there to see actors. I've been up there for a lot of other things. I've interviewed people at the jail. I know a little bit about their process up there, their domestic violence shelter, things like that. So, not the kind of thing that really makes movies. But I do think it's kind of laid back. So, have you lived up here or just visited?
I lived up there. I was dating somebody that lived in American Fork.
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah, Timpanogos is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
That's a decent area. Very, very decent.
Yeah. Expensive, but decent.
Everything is super expensive up here right now. It is insane. It's kind of unaffordable. I sold my home at the wrong time. Should have really not done that, but that's okay.
Yeah. I'm wondering if like the Provo Mall and the one in Orem is still open.
Oh, yeah.
I've been to other places and it's like malls are just shutting down.
Yeah, they are. It's kind of too bad. I was talking to my friend about that the other day. In some ways, it's people don't really go out in the community anymore like they used to. When my kids were younger, I loved going to the mall in the winter because there was a playground in there and people like to go walking when they're older and get their exercise in. So there's definitely some use for it.
Yeah. I know when I was a teenager, I'd go to the mall all the time. But after social media started, it slowly started dying. So I think a lot of social media is what helped kill a lot of the malls.
Well, and Amazon too.
And Amazon, Walmart, eBay, Temu, Wish, sites like that started popping up.
Yeah, it's kind of sad. It's taking away our ability to socialize. I mean, even Christmas shopping. You know how cool it was to go to the mall and do Christmas shopping and
Oh yeah, as a kid going there with my family, seeing Santa Claus, hearing all the Christmas music.
yeah.
You'd go at like 10 o'clock in the morning and leave there when they're closing just to do Christmas shopping.
Yeah, it was a blast. Yeah, it was so great. And that just doesn't happen now. That's kind of sad. Did we lose Mafty?
I don't know.
Oh, haven't taken my night meds yet, which is why I'm still awake, but I won't be long. So I started watching this one site, and I think it kind of just has launched me onto different sites, and I'm like, now I'm on this one. But they're all great channels, and this
Yeah.
one is particularly awesome.
Yeah, I think a lot of the good content creators that are on YouTube will eventually go over to Rumble because you can, like subjects they talk about, they can talk more openly about them over
Oh.
there. Because YouTube's starting to censor stuff, and like a lot of the Fred Catchers, true crime, they're starting to go to Rumble and other sites because they can openly talk about it and not worry about their channels being shut down.
Wow, that's interesting. There's a lot of, I mean, I don't know where your feelings are with the war in Ukraine, but yeah, there's a lot of people that advocate, try to help out different units in Ukraine, and they're being shut down a lot. That's been pretty frustrating when you're trying to.
I think Russia just needs to leave them alone. Let them be.
All they need to do is leave. It's so easy.
I mean, Ukraine should be its own little country. Just let them be.
You know, in some ways, when you talking about arms control and people carrying guns, you know, there were a lot of people that just took up their own arms after Maidan and went to go protect their country and formed their own units. That's where like Azov comes from, and but they filled a lot of that need, or police officers, just people stepped up.
Yeah.
So I don't really like guns being anywhere. I wouldn't advocate for that, but there's something to be said about that country.
Yeah, I know. It also happened with Syria too, with ISIS, where ex-military and cops are like, you know what? We need to go help these people. Our country's not going to stop that. So a bunch of ex-military went over there, started fighting with them. I don't know whatever happened if ISIS finally took over Syria or Syria won that. It just died out of the news.
Syria is still being controlled. From what I understand, it sounds like Russia's got a lot of control over Syria. But I don't know. I wouldn't want to be there. And I know a couple of Russians that I had followed that left their country and went to Syria. It's like, oh, I don't think that worked out super awesome for them. So I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, neither do I. Not after like probably 2018, 2019, when media quit talking about it.
Yeah. Just not interested in.
I think it was Net Geo and Vice did documentaries on these U.S. military soldiers that went back over there.
Oh, Vice News?
Vice News.
Yeah. They're
Yeah.
awesome.
I think Vice did a documentary, and I believe Net Geo did a documentary on them going over there, and it's like it's. I mean, I condone that they done that to try to help them,
Hmm.
but some of them didn't come home. I mean, they came home, but not the way their families were wanting them to come home.
Right. Because it's fucking war.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty ugly in Ukraine as well. And that one is just something that no one really has been trained for. In that way, it's just a slog. It's ugly. Oh, there he is. So a lot of people that went over there to fight in Ukraine came home because it's just there's no strategy. You just go in, people are getting killed at massive levels.
And that, and a lot of places up by like Kiev and Chernobyl, it's hard to fight over there because of the radiation.
Well, I don't think there's a lot of fighting in Chernobyl anymore. The Russians really dug in there when they first invaded, which is pretty funny. It's not something you want to do.
Yeah. I know a bunch of people went back in there with the nuclear industry, and it's like, great. They did a lot of digging and doing trenches. It's like, great. You just released more radiation.
It's so stupid.
Nah, we actually a lot of it. Well, I don't know about digging holes, but I think you have to also consider that Chernobyl is a really good place to research because I think, if I'm not mistaken, they found out that a lot of the wolves and species in Chernobyl were actually they adapted evolution-wise. So a lot of these animals are less affected by radiation because of that environment.
There's people that have moved back there because it's inexpensive and they've lost their homes. That are
I mean, you do what you
Ukrainian.
got to. I mean, you do what you got to do. But
Yeah,
some people, I think there was an old lady in one documentary where she still lives somewhere in the woods and she refuses to go because she has nowhere else to go. Like, that's all she knows is that part where she grew up.
Yeah. And you make such little money that if you don't have your own place or an apartment, it's really tough. So I don't know. I wouldn't want to be there.
Yeah. All I know is I hate my birth year or birth month.
I think another thing about the Ukraine thing is that when do you kind of say stop when you start to draft your own citizens and even your own citizens doesn't want to fight in the war? Then it's sort of like, does that instill animosity towards that current government after all this is said and done? Because there's people that don't want to fight. Same thing on Russia's side. A lot of these young kids that are being drafted, a lot of these dudes don't want to fight. So it's like,
Yeah.
what happens to like Ukrainians if they say, yo, you don't want to fight? Okay, well, you go to jail. But I mean, I don't think